Alright, you guys. So we're live here. Celtics Talk Radio. You guys get you guys microphones. So again, live here, Celtics Talk Radio video chat number 63. You guys, we're now just 2 weeks away from the NBA playoffs. The Celtics currently sit in the 6th seed, which is of course the last spot if you want to avoid that play-in tournament, which would determine who gets the last 2 spots in the first round of the NBA playoffs, which would determine who in all likelihood is going to be the one that faces the Brooklyn Nets and the Philadelphia 76ers, which in all likelihood would mean a first-round exit for whoever is basically destined to face those 2 teams in all likelihood. Celtics, you guys, currently sit with a record of 34-30, tied with the Atlanta Hawks for the 5th spot, but the Atlanta Hawks obviously have the tiebreaker at this point. The Celtics, you guys, at this point have a couple games left. Again, in the last 2 weeks, you have the Portland Trail Blazers tomorrow night, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time. You got a game this coming Wednesday at Orlando, 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Next Friday at Chicago, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time on ESPN. Then next Sunday versus the Miami Heat, 1 p.m. Eastern Time, ESPN. Next Tuesday versus the Miami Heat, 7 p.m. Eastern Time. At Cleveland on Wednesday, May 12th, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. And then, of course, the last 2 games of the season, Saturday, May 15th at Minnesota. That game, the time is still to be determined. And then the final game of the season, Sunday, May 16th at the New York Knicks. Again, time to be determined. So you have 7 games left overall. In this case, let me just double check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So 8 games in this case left to be played at this point. So you guys, this situation, it looks like, last night you had a crazy game, Igor. The team went down 32 points before ultimately coming back and managing to knock off the San Antonio Spurs. Jason Tatum had a historic night, scoring 60 points in that game. Of course, you had no Kemba Walker that played a critical role in why the Celtics probably had such a hard, performance and why that game was so difficult. If Kemba Walker would have played last night, it may have been a little bit more easier, and Tatum may have not needed to score 60 points to win that game. But overall, the Celtics are in a position where if we stink up the joint the next 2 weeks, you guys, we could easily end up finding ourselves missing the NBA playoffs, as again, you are in a situation where you're only 7 games ahead of the Chicago Bulls, who are in the 11th spot, so 16.5 games up behind the first place Brooklyn Nets, so you're only 7.5 games ahead of the Chicago Bulls and the Toronto Raptors. But of course, if you end up basically doing well for yourself in this situation, you could easily find yourself in this 4th spot with the New York Knicks, who currently sit in that spot just 2.5 games ahead of you. Heck, even though I don't think this would happen, but you're only 6.5 games behind the Milwaukee Bucks in this case. So basically, Igor, you can go anywhere from 3rd all the way down to missing the playoffs over the last 2 weeks of the NBA season. It all depends on what ends up happening for the Celtics and how well they do in the last, 8 games of the season. So you guys, we're going to discuss the last 2 weeks, pretty much what you think we should be doing overall. Obviously, that injury with Kemba Walker probably should have, I think, everybody a little bit frightened right now. The amount of games he's missing for an injury like that, I think, is a little bit concerning. Obviously, the Celtics, it could easily be that they're just, deciding, to hell with it when it comes to what playoff seeding we get at this point. Let's just make sure he's healthy for the playoffs, because obviously if you don't have him, you can easily get kicked out of the playoffs by any team pretty much at that point. So let's just make sure he's healthy and live with what result we get when it comes to our playoff spot. But then again, it could very well be that there is something serious there, and they're using that as the excuse to cover it up for all we know. So we'll discuss that as well, you guys. But for the most part, we'll just look at the playoff, the schedule, and look at the playoff standings overall. So Igor, I will kick it to you to get your opening thoughts.
First of all, I must say congratulations to Jason Tatum. I mean, he did something amazing. He did miracle, literally. He scored 50 in regulations, and he scored when we count the overtime in 53 minutes, he scored 60 points without turnovers. And I have bunch of statistics. For example, considering how much Tatum handled the ball, 60 points, zero turnovers. Last 40 years, only Carmelo Anthony did it. I mean. January 24, 2014, Clay Thompson December 5th, 2016, and Jason Tatum April 30th, 2021. Now, I mean, amazing statistics. And he joined Larry Bird and the company. The full stat line is 60 points, 8 rebounds, 5 assists, 15 on 30 on twos, 5 of 7 on threes, 15 of 17 from the line, 67.4% true shooting, zero turnovers, 67.4% true shooting. I mean, really, really amazing. I will find more statistics about Jason Tatum performance, but first, I must say, Daniel, that Aaron Naismith, he had a very solid game. I mean, I will find his stat line soon. I think that he had something like 16 points and 9 assists. I will inform you precisely in a couple of minutes. But in the second half, especially at the time when we were catching the San Antonio Spurs, Aaron Naismith with 16 points, 6 rebounds, 1 assist, plus 12. Yes. He he's improving his form, and if something is good in this, uh, I could say one of the worst regular seasons in the last 20 years. Uh, uh, it is good that Jason Tatum is becoming superstar. Peyton Pritchard is showing that he can be at least good rotational player. Robert Williams is showing glimpses that he can be the starting center, and also Aaron Naismith is showing that he can be the scorer and scoring wing off the bench. Romeo Langford is showing flashes of potential on the defense, but I prefer Aaron Naismith. Now, we can discuss about the playoff rotations later. This is not the question right now. Um, Again, what Tatum did join Larry Bird as one of the youngest Celtics to score 60. I mean, in early stages of their careers, the great players like, Larry Bird or Michael Jordan scored 60. Kevin knows better than me. I think that Kevin, that Chicago Bulls lost from the Celtics in 1985, if I'm correct, or 60 points, So, I mean, there is a potential. And I mean, I heard the people calling me at the page for doubting Jason Tatum. I mean, I'm not doubting Jason Tatum. I always was saying that he has potential to be the Celtics leader, and he's franchise player. And if we had any doubts about who is the franchise player, who is the face of the franchise, who is untradeable player. This is Jason Tatum. So people were saying this is Marcus Smart team, this is Jalen Brown's team. Jalen Brown is better than maybe better than Jason Tatum, but this is for debate. But this is Jason Tatum team. I have always been saying that this team has the highest ceiling when Jason Tatum is number one. Now, there are still doubts. We heard in medias, can Jason Tatum and Jalen Brown lead the Celtics right now? Because they are young, unexperienced. For example, Mike Gorman mentioned that he believes the Celtics miss, and to tell you the truth, fully agree with it. We miss veteran leadership, and I'm disappearing. I don't know where I am. Guys, part of the problems this season is unexperienced of the players. We have very few veterans, and those few veterans have been injured, like Tristan Thompson, like Fournier, like Smart, Kemba Walker. So Mike Gorman said it best. I can find the quote. He said that the Celtics envisioned Kemba Walker as the veteran leader, 28, 30 years old, who can be mentor of Jason Tatum and Jalen Brown to lead them, but he's always hurt. I mean, last night he missed the game, Danny, with I mean, what is the word of injury? Left oblique pain or something. So I mean, even Bob Ryan said, I mean, the Celtics should draft the point guard or start to look at the future to another point guard because one thing is sure about Kemba Walker. He will find a way to injure himself or to be out of the lineup somehow. I mean, he's not a bad player. He's good guy, and I really don't have anything against him. But he's just absent too much. The Celtics turned the game last night against San Antonio Spurs. You mentioned, Daniel, that we are. I don't know what we are chasing, Daniel. You mentioned the standings. I will mention that we are currently number 6. I think that this is thanks to Bobby Klevitsky. I will find his tweet said that Atlanta has tiebreaker over Boston Celtics. This is why we are 6th and they are 5th. 34 and 30th, 34 and 30th. So Miami practically 30 losses. So we are tied uh, between Atlanta and Miami. Practically, Miami has one win less than Atlanta and Boston, 33. Atlanta and Boston, 34. The three-team circle places 5, 6, and 7. Why is this important? For me, it's absolutely of vital importance in the last 9 games remaining, if I'm correct, the Celtics to escape play-in tournament. Play-in tournament is the place like the pool with the sharks. And if you enter the pool with the sharks, you will die in pain. So you don't want to be in the pool with the sharks. And no matter how the fans think about this team, we are really close to the playing tournament. So I mean, Charlotte there, like I said, 30 losses like us. I mean, Miami 30 losses, Charlotte 32 losses. We don't want to be in the playing tournament. Now, when we think about the playoffs, Daniel, I I would like us to be number four, but I doubt in it because New York is playing good, and I think that they will be number four. I think that Boston will be five, six, or seven. I doubt that we will be in the playing tournament only in the case of big collapses. There are odds. I will find you odds. Odds of the teams, odds that the teams to escape the playing tournament. Boston is projected more than 50% odds to escape the playing tournament. If I'm correct, I will find the odds and I will. Write you the odds. And to finish, odds at the Eastern Conference to avoid the playing tournament. Bucks 100%, Nets 100%, Sixers 100%. So they are saying that the top three teams Eastern Conference 100% will avoid the playing tournament. Hawks 93.5% to avoid playing tournament. They say that the Hawks will be fourth. Number five, Knicks 87.7%. Number six, the Celtics 82.2%. So if this is comfort to you Celtics fans, we are projected to miss the playing tournament, and we're projected number six according to the latest odds. Now hits are 30.6% to miss the playing tournament, and the highest candidates for the playing tournament are Hornets and the Pacers. That's about playing tournament. And finally, about the playoff spots. Again, uh, in my opinion, at least, I don't want the Celtics to be sixth or seventh or eighth because it would mean, in my opinion, first round elimination. I want the Celtics to be fourth or fifth. If we cannot be number four, we can be number five. I'm pretty sure that if we are healthy and motivated, we can eliminate New York and Atlanta. Despite Atlanta, if I'm correct, won the season series 2-1 against us, but we were not complete. So I would like the Celtics to be number four or five. Again, I think that New York will be number four, but Celtics can be number five. We are tied with Atlanta. Atlanta is possessing tiebreaker over us. That's why they are number five. And in the second round, it's going to happen what's our destiny is. But let's first avoid the playing tournament and pass the first round, one step by the time. And last sentence is that the people are writing at the Twitter that the Celtics are back, that the Celtics turned the season around. There is no enough evidence to proclaim that the Celtics are back. We will see until in the rest of the season, regular season. If we make a run, then we can talk about the Celtics turn the season around. I hope that this win will be the turning point in our season, the start of the Celtics turning the season around. But I don't know what is going to happen. This Celtics team is crazy, and you can expect literally everything from them, from the best to the worst. And you could see that best and worst in one game. The worst half in the last 10 years in the TD Garden, first half, and one of the best halves in the TD Garden in the last years, the second half. So with this team, I'm not surprised by anything. Sorry for a little longer opening word. Kevin, microphone is yours.
Okay, Kevin is actually away, Igor, from the microphone at the moment, so we'll wait for Kevin to
Okay.
return to the microphone.
Then you go. Then you
Yeah.
go.
So obviously, so getting back to the discussion of last night's game before we get into like previewing the the rest of the schedule and all of that. So obviously, Igor, like you said, last night was basically the tale of two halves, the tale of two teams in this situation, and we got to see basically the two different sides of Celtics Nation, you guys, last night. The first half, we got to see basically the fans who have been highly critical of this team's play because we know what this team is capable of when they're giving the true 100% effort and really hustling up and down the court, giving the effort on the defensive end and really trying to basically focus in on playing the defense. And then we also got to see the effort, the way the team plays when pretty much they only want to be like the Golden State Warriors, focus on offense, but then don't do anything on the defensive end. And it's basically they're looking to win 150 to 149 rather than trying to win the game, 80 to 79 in this situation. That first half yesterday was an utter embarrassment. Heck, the halftime show in this situation with Kendrick Perkins, the type of, stuff he was saying about the team yesterday, he was furious, you guys, in that halftime show. Obviously, yesterday, I didn't really get to see the game until the very end, but I did turn on the halftime show because of all the stuff I was seeing being said on Twitter. I'm like, boy, this game is not going well for all that type of stuff to be being said on social media. So I put it on quickly just to see what Perkins was going to be saying, and he was letting them have it pretty much. And I saw how many points we allowed in that first half. I was like, that is not a good sign. People saying, is this team trying to get Brad Stevens fired? I saw that post posted up in the group at one point. And when I saw the amount of points we allowed, I was like, well, that explains it, obviously, And of course, our members were allowing people to have it, which I think you can pretty much say. I think you guys would agree with me that the team deserved it. The team deserved the criticism at halftime, regardless of what the final outcome was at the very end of the game. They deserved it because look at the way that things changed in the second half. Tell me, Igor, what the heck is the issue with this team, and the fact that the effort we saw in that second half? Why is it this team cannot bring that effort from tip-off? That's the point. Many fans like you and me and Kevin and many others who be complaining in the first half of a game like last night are basically trying to bring when we make complaints like that. Why is it you got to wait till you're 32 points down to a team like the San Antonio Spurs before you finally before finally somebody, Igor, spikes the Gatorade inside the cooler, and it wakes you up, and you decide to finally start playing like the team you're supposed to play like. It takes something like that to happen before you really actually play like a real team.
I think that Kevin is not okay. Kevin is back. Kevin, please add your thoughts before I answer. I mean, you didn't speak. You're back now, and please share with us your thoughts about the last night game.
He's saying that hold on, because I think he's moving. He's driving.
Okay. The game last night. I'm gonna be honest with you. I didn't watch the game. I was watching the draft, but I did get a chance to watch some of it today. And my only issue, the same issue that Daniel's talking about, is that why do we have to be down by that many points to come back to win the game? I mean, it's exciting. It's great for the fans. It kind of shows our potential of how good we actually can be, but it just doesn't make any sense to me. Every game right now is a meaningful game for this team, and I don't know what they need to be motivated to get out there and want to play the best basketball they possibly can. Nate Smith played a really good game defensively. He ate up a lot of minutes. He took minutes away from Langford. He took minutes from Simi. And for some reason, Brad loves Grant. But I'm gonna say this though, it was incredible when I saw the score. And I said, well, you know what? I'm just gonna go lay down because I'm not really feeling that hot right now. And then I woke up. I said, they freaking won. I was like, wow. So today, so today I was watching some of it, um, and some of it goes from them shooting threes and not selling for twos. And I kind of understand that point at some point. But my thing is though, I'd rather make a two than miss a three. And if you make a two and they still up by three, you just got to play better defense. And I think that's what's really hurting us that we're not really playing the type of defense that we can play. Um, it shouldn't matter if we take a two or a three when it comes to playing defense, you know. And that's my whole issue there is that they're defensively we're not in tuned to be that defense stopper that we've been before. So overall, so overall, um, it looks bad on the team um, when you can come down we can come up by 30 points and win a game in overtime. But you gotta score 143 points to win. It doesn't look good. Um, there's definitely a lot of holes that the Celtics got to fix. Um, and you know we don't want to give them a pass, but we got to give them some type of pass. After finding out how many guys have been missing because of the COVID for us in general, we had and we talked about this early part of the season when Jason Tatum went down with the COVID. I said, we'll hover around 500 for the rest of the season because of that situation. I said so, and that's where we're basically at right now. I'm gonna be honest with you guys. I mean, if they make it to the NBA Finals, fine and dandy. If they lose in the first round players, fine and dandy. I'm really looking forward to next year because there should be no excuses for this team not to be better than what they were this year. Now, grant you that we did play in the conference finals last year, so that takes away that looks at it like and says, okay, well these guys are probably tired, but we're looking at two superstars, I mean two all stars on the team. They're 23 and 24 years old. We have a very young team age wise. Okay, so that should not be an excuse either. But I mean, we don't play basketball like they play basketball. I mean, they play in three games in 5 nights, so that takes a toll on your body as well. Um, so overall, I mean, it's a good win for us, but you know, exciting for us. I mean, last time the Celtics were down that much, I think it might have been in the playoff game against the Nets, against the New Jersey Nets, and Paul Pierce came back and won the game from Boston. But it's exciting. Um, but let's see where they go from here. You know what I'm saying? If they go out and lay an egg tonight, then I got a problem. Because that right there, if that doesn't get you ready, if that doesn't get you hyped, that you scored 143 points and there's three guys on your bench that usually play that didn't play, that got to tell you something right there. I mean, you put Draymond in before you put um, um, Romeo Langford in. That has to say something. That has to say something. And I think that Draymond is he's playing for his life to stay on this basketball team. And so far, the games that he's played in, he's played well. He knows his role. He knows what he does. He shoots the open jump shot, makes some, misses some, but that's okay because now he's getting to understand the flow of the game. With Edwards, I think we probably won't see Edwards in the Celtics uniform after this year. And I don't know about Simi either. Even though I know that I think Simi he had 1 year left on his contract if I'm not mistaken, guys. So that's my basis of what I watched last night. I mean, from what I saw and heard from the Celtics last night.
Okay, I mean, what I want to add on the subject, and you guys can comment. I saw again, the Celtics fans should really rejoice. This is historical comeback. This is his historical performance, and Jason Tatum showed that he can be on the level of the greatest players ever. I posted the list of the players that had the list of the players that had 60 points or more since 2010. Jason Tatum, Bradley Beal, James Harden, Damian Lillard, Kemba Walker, Clyde Thompson, Kobe Bryant, LeBron James, Carmelo Anthony, Stephen Curry, Devon Booker. If I'm correct, in TD Garden, he had 70 points or something. Anyway, Kevin said a lot of good stuff. I want to expand the story. Like I said, he said practically all. San Antonio Spurs is not playoff team currently. They are 31 and 31. They are 500 team. They are number 9. I mean, they will be playing in the play-in tournament if the season is over right now. Comeback is impressive. Kevin is remembering 2002. It was Eastern Conference Finals or semifinals. I think it was semifinals, if I'm correct, Kevin. Maybe it was finals. Yeah, it was like 26 points turnaround in the second half with Paul Pierce and Antoine Walker. I remember. Actually, I think I betted on the Celtics that game, and I threw the ticket away, and they turned around the game, and it was amazing victory. Of course, Paul Pierce dominated. Uh, yes, it's excited for the fans, but again, this team has no stability. This team has no identity. And by the way, about this comeback, people want to give credit to Brad Stevens. Now, with the danger to sound unfair towards Brad Stevens, I don't know what Stevens did good to turn the game around. In the first half, Stevens looked like simple spectator that absolutely has had no control over the game nor the players, and we dug ourselves into the deep hole. Like Kevin said, 32 points deficit, 29 at halftime, if I'm correct. So minus 29. So Stevens is the one to blame for that. Listen, the people are asking, why do we hate Stevens? Why do you attack Stevens? Because it's coach's job to prepare the players and the game. Okay, maybe he doesn't have time always to prepare every game 100%, but he doesn't have the freaking control over the games nor the players all the times. And the people are giving him credit for the turnaround in the set. I don't know what Brad Stevens did or said. I think personally, let me say my opinion, the ones which are responsible for turnaround is TD Garden crowd, because they booed their asses off. You could hear boos in the TD Garden, and this is totally opposite from the mindset of social networks media fans. I mean, new generation fans, so-called optimistic fans, they are writing always optimistic messages, even when we are down 32, because in their opinion, this is fate towards the team. But you cannot trick the TD Garden crowd, which that crowd was witness to the greatest players ever played basketball, like Bob Cousy, like Russell, like Bird, like McHale, like Parrish. You cannot sell them the false player to that crowd. If you don't play in the TD Garden, they will boo your asses. They don't care who you are. And that's the way it should be. And you see how it is working. In the second half, that booze that booze made the Celtics players put the finger on their heads and be embarrassed a little. Just a little, how we all fans were embarrassed watching the first half. And they were motivated. They were motivated. Jason Tatum said, I was motivated by my parents, by my family, by my son, and also by TD Garden crowd. And maybe Brad Stevens did some miracle speech that motivated them. I don't know about. I highly doubt this was happened. I think that crowd had good reaction. And I will remind you all, Kevin, Daniel, and the listeners and viewers, about the criticism prior to Minnesota Timberwolves game. I cannot remember from whom we lost. It was some bad team like Detroit or whatever. Kendrick Perkins called Jason Tatum publicly about his attitude. And what happened? The next game he scored 53 and 54. Listen, dear Celtics fans, that's why analysts are serving for, to put to notice the weaknesses, to notice the bad sides in your game, and to tell you, like Kendrick Perkins, later Jason Tatum called Kendrick Perkins, and Kendrick Perkins explained to Jason Tatum what is he doing wrong. And you can see in the second half of San Antonio Spurs game, Jason Tatum doing the things that he never did before, like being aggressive, out muscling people down the rim, And if somebody older than Jason Tatum don't tell him what is he's doing wrong, he will never correct his mistakes. My whole point is you cannot be just a sterile crowd, like cheerleaders crowd, hip hip hooray. It is not serving to anything. Sometimes asses of the players need to be kicked because they are professionals. They are not amateurs. They are being paid, and paid really good, to do their jobs. And you can do whatever you want, but you cannot trick the TD Garden crowd. This is the most educated crowd in the basketball you can find in the world. So that's what happened in the TD Garden, in my opinion. Daniel, do you want to speak?
Well, again, Igor, I think we all agree at this point that when it comes to that situation, we've already admitted that you're not going to be able to get those fans to learn that these are professional players. They've had to deal with criticism ever since they started their journeys of being professional basketball players, whether it's been in the college ranks, high school, whatever it is, even to the point of being in the pro leagues at this point. Those fans don't seem to understand that there's a difference between being a regular sports fan that just watches the game for fun and enjoys watching the game, compared to being somebody who's a radio host, or somebody who's like us, does it radio and video, or is like those you see on the television at this point. We basically have taken an oath of basically saying that we will be, capable of being fair when it comes to talking about our teams and being able to really analyze these, sports. Because if we can't, then how can anybody basically say that we are capable of analyzing things and really being able to be taken seriously? How can anybody basically say that you're going to be able to truly judge the Celtics fairly if pretty much we can say the Celtics, if they lose a game to, let's say, the worst team in the league, oh, we'll give them an excuse that when the Lakers lose to that same team, oh, now we can give them criticism for it. It doesn't work that way, ladies and gentlemen, when it comes to you being a radio host or a video chat, person that does it, analyzing. Kevin will be somebody who can do it, explain it better than I can because he's been doing this type of stuff, just as long, if not longer, than me and Igor in this case. If you don't want to take our word for it, take it from guys like Charles Barkley, Shaq, and the rest of the guys you see on TV, on a daily basis. How serious do you think anybody will take those people on their show on a daily basis if they can basically say they'll give a pass to the Celtics every time the Celtics lose to one of these teams, but because LeBron James has been in the league longer than Tatum, they'll give LeBron James crap for it, but they'll use the excuse Tatum and Bron is too young to still get criticism at this point. Literally. Ain't nobody gonna want to watch Stephen A. Smith and Max Kellerman debate the Celtics if they're basically not going to want to deal criticism at them when they lose to a weaker team. So why the heck would anybody want to take us seriously as radio hosts and administrators for a group if people basically find out that we're not willing to basically deal criticism to our team when they deserve it? That's the way I see it, ladies and gentlemen. That's the way you got to see it yourself. If you're not somebody who basically works in this field as a radio host or a TV show host for sports, then go ahead and be as biased pretty much, or as I can say, hypocritical as you want when it comes to basically, judging sports. Because nobody's really going to give a damn about your opinion because you're not somebody really who's a public figure. But when it comes to like the three of us and the rest of our team in this situation, or another public figure you see on TV, you got to understand that they're in a totally different world when it comes to this stuff, and we got no choice but to remain pretty much, fair when it comes to rating our guys compared to the way we rate the rest of the league.
Okay. Now, talking about Jason Tatum real quick. Scoring 60 points, that's great. He's in the league with Bird and all those other guys score 60 points. So that lets you know that if he's aggressive, he can get to the basket now. I mean, from what I saw, he got a lot of and ones, a lot of fouls, stuff like that, which he should have been getting through the whole season, in my opinion. I think personally speaking, as a fan of basketball, I don't think Boston through the season got their fair share of fouls that need to be called to keep them in certain games. And if you think about it, there'll be like, we'll make a run and we're getting ready to put this team away, and there won't be like Kimball getting fouled and they won't call a foul. They're gonna shoot a three now. We're up by 6 instead of being up by 12. So we've had those share, in my opinion, of fouls that should have been called that didn't get called. And I think we saw a lot of that during the time frame we had that when we won that 5-6 games in a row. We saw them getting to the line. So congratulations to Jason Tatum for doing what he's done. That just proves that he has the potential to be that guy. I still believe that Brad Stevenson needs to be. He needs to have somebody that played on the Celtics team like Perkins, Kevin Garnett, Paul Pierce. He needs those guys on the bench, okay, to motivate these guys, because there's nobody there on that bench, in my opinion, that can motivate them better than a veteran that's been there, done that. You know what I'm saying? If you look at the year that Paul Pierce was there before they traded for Kevin Garnett and Ray Allen, they had just won 5 games in a row, okay, and then he got injured. You know what I'm saying? And then they traded everybody for Kevin Garnett and Ray Allen. But before that, everybody forgets that they won 5 games in a row. You know what I'm saying? So they were building something at that point in time. But I think the reason why Dan pulled the trigger is because it was a lot of pressure on him and Doc both to win the NBA title. So they gave up a lot to get to that one NBA title. I don't see a problem with that. But what I see now with the Celtics, though, is that they need to be accountable for everything they do on the basketball court. You're gonna praise Tatum when he scores 60 points, But then when he doesn't play well, you're gonna blame him on his age. You can't have it both ways. Okay, you gotta take the good with the bad. Like Igor said, they're all professional basketball players. This is what they do for a living. Jalen Brown, this is what they do for a living. Um, they don't do anything else. They don't have a part-time job. They don't they don't babysit because they probably got a nanny to take care of their children. You know what I'm saying? They really have no worries other than trying to stay away from getting the COVID. Other than that, everything else financially wise to take care of any of the needs or the wants. So they can focus on basketball. And this is why these guys get paid so much money so they can stay focused on basketball. There's people out there say that I think that athletes make way too much money. But if you're trying to put together a great team and you're trying to win a championship, you want to make sure that their mind, when they're in that arena, football field or diamond, baseball diamond, that their mind's all about the sport, they're not worried about um is somebody gonna pick the kid up from school or what they gonna have for dinner. All that should be taken care of. Okay, so my thing with the Celtics and the fans is that you guys got to hold those. You got to hold them accountable when they lose. You got to hold them accountable when they win. Praise them when they win. Hold them accountable when they lose. Um, and don't be proud, but be honest with yourself and be honest with yourself and be honest with the fans. Nobody's happy with the team we have right now how inconsistent we play. Okay, and we're seeing nights, majority of the nights, we're always down and we end up coming back and winning. I'm gonna start calling the cardiac Celtics because that's what they're doing to me. They have my heart race at the end of the games where there's games that we should be winning and we're not winning. Games that we should be in control of, we're not control of. So there's a lot of inconsistencies there. And I agree with Igor again with the Brad Stevenson thing because Brad has to be more vocal um, than he needs to be. I mean, he needs to be more vocal than we see. I mean, we've saw in the last probably 6, 7 games him being more vocal than he's ever been in his life. Okay, and I think it's because he knows that there's a possibility that we may not make the playoffs at all. He doesn't want to go down as that guy, even though he has the backing of the owner and Danny Ainge. You still don't want to be that team that was supposed to be 1, 2, or 3 in your conference, and you end up not making the playoffs. And we can use everything for excuse, the COVID, the scheduling, but everybody goes through the same thing we're going through as a team right now. Everybody's playing 3 games in 5 nights or 5 games in 7 nights, whatever the case may be. We're all doing it. They get a little rest they get a little rest before the playoffs come. Um, so we'll see where that goes. As far as Kimba's concerned, I am a little concerned about Kimba, um, about this injury he has. That's why when he takes charges and things like that, I'm like, oh, I cringe every time he takes a charge. I cringe. So, but there was something else Igor said that I wanted to address, man. Oh, what it was. Oh, about the game, about the fans booing. And see, this team right here has played half a season in almost a full season without no fans being there. So they didn't have to hear about nobody booing them or cheering them or whatever the case may be. We've been hearing a lot of and ones and stuff like that from the players. But now last night they got a taste of what it would be like if they were to play in front of fans. Can you imagine if they played like that and that place is full? Oh, it would have been chaotic. People probably would have left their seats, went home, and said, "Forget this game at halftime," and they'd have left because they're not used to seeing nothing like that, you know. And like Igor said, Boston has some of the most educated basketball fans out there, so you can't throw sugar in the air and tell everybody that's snow because that's not the case, you know. So now they're getting a part of it. If you think about it, you have players on that team that have never played in front of professional fans before. But can you imagine? Can you imagine that place being packed and they playing that bad? I'm telling you, it would be chaos. It would be chaos in there. It would totally be chaos. So I think the fans are the reason that made them turn that game around. I don't think it had nothing to do with Brad Stevens. Then they started making some shots the second half, but I think it was more the fans than it was anything else because anytime your fans start booing you, right before halftime, and that means you got 2 more quarters to play. They got to look themselves in the mirror and say, "Yo, this ain't us." I mean, and the comeback from 32 points down is incredible itself. I mean, that lets you know that even a 42-point lead ain't safe no more than be able to 3-point shots that you got to shoot. So I totally agree with Igor in the concept of what the fans are, because I'm telling you right now, as a fan, I've never been to a game, never been to a set of game where I had to boo them. But the games I seen on TV that I was not happy with, and if I could boo them, I definitely would boo them. You know, so that's all. That's my take right here.
Danny, you had the question for Kevin. I was not there. Can you repeat me, or do you want me to continue comment about the last couple of games?
Well, I said basically that in regards to Kevin, the thoughts of the situation you mentioned with the fan. He wanted to react to your thought about the fans booing basically at the yesterday's game, and I think I gotta actually, you guys, your thoughts on Brad Stevens. I do want to give a shout out to the coach for his comment after yesterday's game. He basically admitted about how his I think he said either he or his wife or sister, something like that, would have walked away from that game yesterday.
His daughter walked away at the halftime. He said she has smarter things to do, and she was not happy, and she walked away from the game. Yes.
So look at that. Here it is, a member of his own family, ladies and gentlemen. Even though you can question, did she truly have something else more important, or is it that she herself basically used that as an excuse after seeing how the game ended, and just didn't want any criticism dealt their way? But look at that. Even a member of our coach's own, family basically walked away after seeing how that performance was going in the situation. And I think, you guys, I think you'll agree with me when I say this. Right now, you got 2 different Boston teams performing that same building at the exact same time, let's say like that, because obviously the Boston Bruins are also playing at this point. Both teams are about to go to the NBA playoffs in their respective sports. But only one of them, you guys, has a real shot to win the championship. The Bruins. Ain't nobody in their right mind that really thinks that the Celtics are going to actually have a chance of winning a championship this year. Unfortunately. Whether it's because you're someone that thinks they don't have the right, the talent needed to make it to the championship, or whether you feel that the league is rigged because because they want the best matchup possible, because of the money in this space that's going to be involved. So you want that they're going to want the best teams in terms of the ones that have the biggest superstars. Hence, Lakers, Brooklyn Nets in this case are the star power in the final matchup in this situation, or if you think it's a combination of both things. So if I'm there in that arena, you guys, last night, and I'm seeing the Celtics getting their ass kicked by 32 points. And I'm here at the same time thinking I got a chance where, maybe I can go home and watch the Boston Bruins play, knowing they're fighting for the potential to be the number 1 seed in the playoffs. What do you think I'm going to do? Continue to sit back and watch and hope that the Celtics will basically turn the game around and possibly fight back and win? Or go back home and actually watch the Bruins play? It's unfortunate, but people seem to forget. This is a location that everybody now debates, you guys, as Title Town, USA. It's all about winning championships now if you're a pure Boston sports fan. Now, if you're one of those fans, you guys, that roots for the Boston Celtics in basketball, but you root, let's say, for the Yankees in baseball, and another team in hockey, and another team in football, and you don't root for all 4 teams in Boston, in this case, then you don't know what it's all about. But if someone like me who roots for the Sox, the Pats, the Bruins, and the Celtics, then you know what I'm referring to in this situation. If you got one team that really doesn't have a shot at winning, but you got another team that does have a shot, and they're both playing at the same time, at this point, you're going to look at the team that has a chance at winning it all and not really focus on the game with the team that doesn't have a shot at winning this year. That's just the way it is, unfortunately. That's the way it is in every city in this country, in this case, ladies and gentlemen. And so yesterday, I wouldn't have been shocked if, let's say, the Bruins were playing and a bunch of people were walking out of the building realizing, you know what? Hey, Igor, let's go to the bar down the street and let's go watch the Boston Bruins play. Why stay here and watch the Celtics get beat? Fans just got to realize that's the way it's going to be in this situation until the Celtics, finally solidify themselves as a team that can truly contend for an NBA championship. Until they actually do that, fans are going to continue to walk out on these games and continue to basically declare, you know what, they're down 32 points, this game is over. Only those fans who actually think of the Celtics as the only team they basically root for in Boston will continue to actually act like if you don't basically stand by them the entire game, you're basically not faithful to the actual team.
I think that you're spot on to that, Danny. I think that you have the people in TD Garden, like I said, in Boston, in Massachusetts, the people like you and me. Never mind, I'm not in Massachusetts, but I root for Patriots, for Bruins. For Bruins had one of my people, Milan Lucic, who won the Stanley Cup 2011. So I mean, I was watching, of course, the Bruins. Patriots was always the symbol for professional American football for me. So I mean, the Sox, of course, the championship, Boston as championship city. So like you said, I mean, in Boston, it's championship or bust. But unfortunately, Danny, at our page and in social networks, you have a bunch of international fans. For example, Danny, majority of them, they are not following other sports than NBA. And they're following NBA like 5 to 10 years only, or even less. Or they're following football, but they're not rooting for Patriots. For example, they are rooting for Yankees or other team, and they're rooting for Celtics. So I mean, they are drawing parallel between, for example, Yankees and some football team that they are rooting, and they are used to the state that their teams are not in competition for the title. They are settled down with just watching their team, no matter who is playing for their team, and no matter about the results, they are content. If you put the 12 horses in the green jerseys or 12 mules, they will root for the 12 mules and they will be happy with it. That's those type of fans. But Massachusetts fans, the fans that understand what it is about Boston, they know in Boston it's finals at least, or titles, or bust. It's not made by Igor, by Kevin, by Danny. That's just the way it is. You go to Boston and ask Bostonian, is he satisfied with Eastern Conference Finals? I think that this Bostonian will tell you that you're crazy. Unlike majority of the fans at our group, Boston Celtics are not contenders, sadly, until 2012, and until they are the true contenders. I think that, like you said, Danny, you will have the fans turning off the Boston Celtics games and tuning into the Bruins or Sox or Patriots, games or draft, like Kevin said, because the fans feel which team has the chance to win the championship. I repeat, you cannot trick the Massachusetts and Boston crowd. You can write what you want. You can write fairy tales, but you cannot trick the Boston crowd. And I think that you're spot on, Daniel. Now, returning to the Boston Celtics team, Jason Tatum has really chance to be great. And if somebody from Boston Celtics watching this video I just want one sentence to be recognized from this whole video and remembered. And uh, this is the most important. Boston must recognize Jason Tatum as future superstar of the league. And Celtics must build a team around Jason Tatum. They must they must give Jason Tatum everything he wants to make him happy and to make him to want to stay in Boston the whole career. Because NBA is players league. And if we lose Jason Tatum and Jalen Brown, we are screwed for I don't know how many years. So Boston Celtics need to recognize Jason Tatum as their face of the franchise, and to build the team around him and to make him happy. And this is not the case this year. No matter how you spin in medias, this is not the case this year. And you can see that he's not happy, and you can see that he's tired. Yes, he was motivated yesterday, but I will read you what longtime Celtics play-by-play Mike Gorman said on the Sports Hub, Thatcher and Rich, before the San Antonio Spurs game. I will read you what he said. Quote, Mike Gorman doesn't feel Tatum and Brown can be the leaders for the Celtics. Play-by-play Mike Gorman has seen plenty of strong leaders came through the locker room. He doesn't think that Brown and Tatum can be those guys. Gorman has been very vocal about the Celtics struggles this season during his weekly interviews in the Sports Hub, Thatcher and Rich. He opened up this morning, when he was asked if Brown and Tatum can be the team's leaders moving forward, he said, I don't think so, adding that the Celtics need someone right now who is 28, 30 years old, who's been around the league. He hoped Kemba Walker would be that guy, but the veteran guard has been plagued by injuries. Gorman expressed devastating with the Celtics' lack of urgency over the past week, culminating with the loss when Tuesday night over Oklahoma City Thunder, who entered the game on the 14-game losing streak, and they cut the 14-game losing streak by defeating Boston Celtics. He feels that Tatum's seeming lack of energy is contributing to that. In the last 5 or 6 games, not San Antonio Spurs including, I repeat, it's very evident that Tatum has been tired of basketball. And he said a couple of other teams tune into the 98.5 Sports Hub for more. But I mean, I want to comment about that. Um, uh, Tatum has been struck with COVID, and I'm giving him pass for that. Kevin mentioned that he was bad after recovery from COVID, and we all can understand that, and we should not attack him for bad games 1 month or more after returning from COVID. He said in one moment that he feels consequences from COVID. He is using inhalators prior to the game, after the game, whatever, and we can understand how does he feel. I mean, what is pissing me off the most among the Celtics players, and I mean, what is pissing me most at Brad Stevens is his mantras. You know, one paragraph of sentences or 10 paragraphs of sentences that he is repeating on the press conferences, and those sentences lost their meanings. You know, that is what is pissing me off with Brad Stevens. You know, and nothing is changing on the court. What was pissing me off in the Celtics, lack of urgency, and the fans that are saying, okay, I mean, we lost from Oklahoma, but we missed those players, this player and that player. I mean, are you kidding me? You lost from literally top three worst teams in the NBA, or the worst team in the NBA, with 14 games losing streak, without any elite players, and you're saying it's okay to you don't have sense of urgency or sense of shame. I mean, how? you know um, they should respond, meaning the players, by giving the effort on the court, just like in the second half. And if they give effort on the court, they will beat majority of the teams in the next 9 games. That's uh, what I wanted to say for now. Kevin, can he talk? Kevin? Mm-hmm. Okay, I'm not hearing Kevin. Daniel? Okay.
Yes. Hey, Igor.
Say,
Okay, you was cutting out a little bit for me, but what was you saying about what was pissing you off about the team again?
what I was saying about what?
You said the team was pissing you off. What was you saying it was about?
Aha, lack of urgency.
Okay.
Lack of urgency after losses. They lost from the worst team in the NBA, or top three worst teams in the NBA. They missed the 3-5 players. It doesn't matter. But we lost from the team that is having 14 games losing streak. And I mean, there is no lack of urgency. That is what is pissing me off at the players, and Brad Stevens is repeating the same sentences without meaning. That's what is bothering me.
Okay. Yeah, I agree. I totally agree with you on that right there. Um, I think that because Danny Ainge that's Danny Ainge's guy, it's going to take a lot for them to move Brad Stevenson. I feel like, um, but I think next year, if well, it depends on what they do with Kimba. If they move Kimba or not. I mean, sometimes you watch Kimba and you like, great, he's back. Then sometimes you watch Kimba, you're like, no, he's not back. But I think he's been more consistent since he's the last couple of games. When he scored that 32 points, I think he's been more consistent at that point in time. I think I think we might be a little bit too hard on Kimba, because again, he came back without practicing or anything like that to get in the rhythm of the game. So again, I'm gonna go back to what do you say? 18 minutes. Then he said 18 minutes that the projected starting five played all season long. I think he goes back to that. But does I think he try to move Kemba? I truly believe he does try to move Kemba. But when you guys get a chance, I want you to look at your projected mock NBA drafts. They still got Boston drafting 6'1", 6'2" point guards. And we need to get away from those type of point guards. We need guards that are bigger. We need a 6'4", 6'5", maybe 6'6" point guard that we can handle the ball, and be a good defensive player. If we get somebody that can play defense like Ben Simmons and can shoot, then we're fine. But we just can't find that guy. But I don't know. Danny's always been in love with these little small guards. I mean, if you think about it, Rondo was a guard that played great defense, but he couldn't shoot. We can't. We need to find one that can play defense and can shoot too. That can put pressure on other teams. And I know I posted a thing about Victor Oladipo coming to Boston, but in my opinion, his health is an issue. Um, and he puts more pressure on teams than Kemba does. I think he doesn't settle for the jump shot. Um, he rather go to the basket than shoot jump shots than Kemba. But I'm looking for them to bring in a bigger point guard if they can. I wouldn't be upset if Lonzo Ball name would be mentioned. to come to Boston because we know that he's pretty much a pure point guard, plays good defense, shoots when he has to shoot, not when he wants to shoot. Um, and he's smart. He's really smart with the ball. His defense has improved since he's been in the league. So I'm kind of I wouldn't be too I wouldn't be too hesitant to make that move. But I know they talked about in order for Boston to get better that Jaylen Brown will be the guy that they will have to move um, and build around Jason Tatum. And you guys know I've been on record. I said that if they're going to Bradley Beal, is the only player that I'm giving Jason Brown up for. Anybody else out in the league, I'm not doing it. I don't see them being that good. And we're looking at Jaylen Brown, and as we've seen him play, he's gotten better and better and better every year. He's improved every year he's been in the league. So can you imagine us trading him and he's improving maybe on his free throw shooting? Um, so you have to get a player that you feel like is going to be just as good as him or better than him. That's going to be around for the next 3 to 4 years to maybe um, make Jason happy. And only player out there actually that I think is Bradley Beal is a player that he played with before. If he comes to Boston, I think he's happy with that move. He might be upset because it's Jalen, but thing about it is though is like Washington has they have a lot of wing guys too. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know if Boston will be able to um money wise they got to move some players, but there also could be some draft choices involved in that too. So I just want to get y'all guys thoughts on that as well.
Danny? Danny, want to
Yeah,
comment something about? He mentioned Vitor Oladipo. Indeed, there are rumors that the Celtics are going to. I think Bleacher Report mentioned a guy from Bleacher Report mentioned. Kevin is referring to that article. Projected that Vitor Oladipo will finish in Celtics. I mean, it is possible because I think that Vitor Oladipo is, thanks to the injuries, falling down. In NBA players' rankings, and it is easy to get him right now. He was traded to the Houston, who really sucked bad after trading James Harden. And I mean, he was released from Houston also, and he struggled. And I mean, I'm not sold to Vitor Oladipo is some kind of solution, long-term solution. And to tell you the truth, I don't see what is he bringing to us better than Kemba Walker. I mean, I can argue that Kemba Walker is better player than Vitor Oladipo, and both players are injured or they have large injury history. Vitor Oladipo even bigger injury history than Kemba Walker. We can sign him for cheap, but I mean about that. Bob Ryan and Jeff Goodman discussed on the show the other night. There is big elephant in the room in Boston, and that elephant is salary cap and money restrictions. Boston is operating practically a small market team since 2013 because we are rebuilding, and despite pronouncing that he is ready to pay the highest tax. I mean, I think that Boston Celtics paid the highest tax in 2010 or 11, like 15 millions or something. So that was for contending team, and for this team that is not contending in their eyes. I don't think that they're ready to pay the tax. And without the money in the pocket, in the salary cap, you can not really operate. And this is the elephant in the room. We have been forced because of that policy to trade away Daniel Tice, who is doing perfectly fine in Chicago Bulls, just for cap reasons to stay below the salary cap. Because of salary cap restrictions, we are signing the players that are cheap and uh, low cost and high reward gamble like Jabari Parker. Or we are drafting players because, they are cheap on the rookie contracts. That's what Vig Grusbeck said himself back when we started rebuilding in, if I'm correct, 2013-14. Give me rookies on the cheap contracts, that are playing with the high potential. That's what we want. Again, this is the elephant in the room. The salary cap restrictions, and this is something majority of the Celtics fans just don't want to listen or disregard. They believe that the Celtics have the salary cap or money without limits. We can discuss is this good or not. I don't agree with this policy, but the Celtics are not going to pay the tax for this team, and that's reality. So, under those salary cap restrictions, I mentioned Bob Ryan and John Goodman. He posted the video. Majority of our fans jumped on that video, but the fans are not listening carefully as usually. Goodman said, if this season is unsuccessful, meaning early exit or whatever in the playoffs, he feels like Danny is under pressure to do something in the summer, you know. Um, and Kevin mentioned Kemba Walker. I'm for moving Kemba Walker because, again, he's injury prone. He's maximum contract guy, and he spent more time off the court than on the court. He spent more time off the court than on the court. So maybe he would help us if he played, but he didn't play thanks to injuries. So this is the problem to Kemba Walker. You cannot rely on Kemba Walker because he is injury prone, and this is the story. This is where the story ends on Kemba Walker. So Bob Ryan mentioned that the Celtics should look at some low-cost solutions at the point guard markets, or scout some point guard to draft the future point guard in the place of Kemba Walker, because Goodman and Bob Ryan, they don't think that Peyton Pritchard is starting material. They think that he can be the role player just like he is right now, but they doubt that Peyton Pritchard can be starting point guard. So, this is one of the burning problems in Boston. So, what are the players if you want to make the move for significant players, And by significant player, I mean top 20, top 30, top 20 player. Let's say that way. You can always find the player that is injured, that is ex All-Star, like Vitor Oladipo, like Jabari Parker, top pick, second pick in the draft with a career that is falling down. So you offer him cheap contract and the space to rejuvenate their career. You can find a bunch of those kind of guys. The problem is, I don't think that this is going to help us too much. Maybe it will, Maybe if you find 10 guys, one guy will blossom, just like Evan Turner. But if you want to make a big splash of a trade, I mean, Goodman and Ryan, they mentioned that realistically, the players that have value, Kemba Walker, Marcus Smart, Brown, Tatum, Williams. I mean, you can draw something. You can draw something from. Uh, Maybe you can trade Peyton Pritchard eventually, or one of Langford Naismith, but those players don't have a realistically big high draft trade value. Only two players that are having the trade value, realistic high trade value, are Tatum and Brown. Smart has his value, but Smart is not going to give you all-star in return. He can be the trade filler. He can give you some middle contract guy, but he cannot give you the star. So, in Goodman's opinion, Tatum is a keeper, untradeable player. I agree with him. I repeat that. Since 2018, I will build the team. I mean, when we have chosen this path, Tatum is untradeable. So the only solution is to trade Brown. But he's not mentioning to trade Brown just for the sake of trading Brown, but if you can make the good trade, the splash, to improve your team, otherwise, he's absolutely not for trading Brown, because even him mentioning what Kevin mentioned, Brown is improving every single year. He is all-star. He will probably be in second or third All-NBA team. Maybe the next year he will improve also. He's always adding something new in his repertoire of tricks or bag of tricks. Nobody mentioned we should trade Brown just to be traded, but they mentioned what is realistic. We are stacked. Our salary cap, our salaries are rising. Tatum is entering his maximum contract. Smart is one more year and up to extension. Jaylen Brown is in his 12% less to maximum contract. His contract is a bargain agreement, but Kemba Walker has maximum contract, and practically those top three guys or top four guys, Smart included, they're occupying 70-80% of salary cap, and you don't have the wiggle room to improve your team otherwise than hit the jackpot lottery at the draft, or by free agency, some cheap free agent, to hit jackpot in free agency that way, or to trade one of your core guys. So that's why our situation is difficult. And of course, everybody reacted negative. They said that Goodman is crazy, but that's how internet fans are today. Danny, want to comment something about it?
Well, again, I think people got to be willing to be open to anything at this point. Again, if you can get something decent, and I'm not talking about I'm saying that you're just gonna, like you said, give them up just to get anything. If you can get another big time player for Jaylen Brown in return in this situation, somebody that can guarantee that Jason Tatum stays here long term, I'm open for it. In this case, come on, ladies and gentlemen, nobody right now can convince me that just because Jason Tatum says, I would like to stay in Boston my entire career, that is a guarantee he's going to stay here his entire career. Come on, guys. Tell me, didn't we just hear a guy say that not that long ago, that he wanted to stay in Boston in an extended period, and then just not even 2 or 3 years later, he ended up walking away to go to Brooklyn? Even though a majority of you people played a role in that, by basically kicking him in his ass right out the door because you wanted Tatum and Brown to take over. But still, Didn't he actually walk? Didn't he leave? The moment he had an opportunity to team up with a bigger time player in a bigger market. You don't think Tatum, if he's got an opportunity to go play in the purple and gold, going after, the big bright stars, playing in front of all the movie stars and all those other celebrities, following in his, I guess you could say his heroes' footsteps, you don't think he's going to take it? Knowing that he can make more money, give his kid probably a better life, a better future in terms of, living the high life out there compared to what he can make out here. You people don't think, let's just say it like this, he'd be an idiot to pass it up. That's how everybody will be telling him. You don't think his wife would want that, you guys? Come on, baby. Let's get over there. Let's live in Hollywood in this situation. Or at least live in one of those towns close by in this situation. Come on, you guys. You yourself got to put yourself in Jason Tatum's shoes, and you cannot tell me yourself that something like that wouldn't actually be convincing enough to tell you, ditch the green and white and go run to LA and go play for the purple and gold. Because nowadays, there is no loyalty in sports. That L word does not exist anymore. And if it does, it's a rare gene that you only find in a few players. Unfortunately. The last player to have that gene, you guys, I would probably say, were the boys down in San Antonio that are no longer around. I say San Antonio because those were the guys that lasted the longest. Parker, Ginobili, and Duncan. Once those guys were gone, that L word no longer exists. Every other star in this league, in this situation, is one that there's always a potential of them getting up and walking out the door until they actually find the city that they want to stay in permanently because it gives them the most benefits. The most money, the most fame, and the best chance to get the biggest house. Literally. You will not find a star that basically will remain in the smallest market available, pretty much saying, I will stay here permanently because I'm the top dog. Maybe the one you could say right now that's the closest to it in this situation, you guys, is probably down in Dallas at this point. Playing for Dallas. I would say right now that's the closest you would find. The Dallas Mavericks have the star that's probably the closest to having that reputation. Maybe after that, it will probably be the next star will be up in Portland. But you are an idiot if you think that L word is a way of life right now in these sports. Unfortunately. I mean, come on. Look at Tom Brady. Tom Brady had, won 7 championships here in Boston with us. And even though, there was a few other things that played a critical role in him leaving, he ends up ditching us to go play in Tampa Bay. So, if you're telling me Bradley Beal or Jaylen Brown, one of those guys is a guarantee that Jason Tatum is going to stay here long term. The other one means that the next time Jason Tatum's contract is up, you got to get into a bidding war with LeBron, with the Lakers and possibly LeBron James still being there. No offense, I'm taking the safe route and getting Bradley Beal. Because what happens if Tatum walks away and that leaves you with just Jaylen Brown? Is Jaylen Brown really going to be enough to guarantee you're going to be able to draw another superstar over here? Heck, as it is, you got the two of them, and can you get a max star to come over here other than Kendall, who you had to trade for in signing trade because he was desperate to get out of Charlotte? So for him, ditching Charlotte to come to Boston was an upgrade. But if he had his choice, think about it like that, you guys. If Kemba had his choice to go to any other city, do you really think Boston would have been the number one option? if he could have chose to go to Miami or New York or LA before you? Probably not. Probably not. And that's the way people got to look at the situation. Right now, like you said, Igor, you got to think about which one of these two would be the bigger piece to make it where you're more likely to get to an NBA Finals at some point. Is it Brown or is it Tatum? Which one would be basically the Robin if he was to somehow find Batman in this situation? And in my opinion, at this point, right now, even though both guys are showing that they got what it takes at this point, that they can easily be that Robin in this case, which one has the better potential to draw Batman over here? And to be honest, I think it's Tatum. Heck, look at what we're seeing. Do we see Jaylen Brown involved in any commercials right now? You know, think about the game against the Golden State Warriors. Draymond Green going toe-to-toe with Tatum over the issue of their subs, joking around on the court. You know, with Tatum telling him after the game, my sub is still better than yours in this situation. You know, we all got to laugh about that in this case. But do you see Jaylen Brown getting those type of opportunities that Tatum is getting to really, you know, get involved with these other big-time players? No. And that's a critical reason why Tatum is ahead of him. You can't really think about just about the talent situation. You got to think about also getting the relationships, the friendships, and the connections with these other stars. Why do you think we were so critical about wanting to keep Kyrie Irving here if it meant getting rid of Tatum and Brown? Because with Kyrie here, you had a shot of drawing any potential free agent out there to Boston. The moment you let him go, that opportunity went with him. So if it means keeping him, Igor, I got no problem making the move. But if there's no guarantee that basically getting rid of Brown and bringing Bradley Beal in solidifies that Tatum is here long term, then I say keep him. Because there's no point of getting rid of Brown just to still see Tatum walk away. Because as good as Bradley Beal is in this situation, he is not head and shoulders ahead of Jaylen Brown, in my opinion, in terms of where Jaylen Brown could potentially be in a few years. And I don't think he would make the difference in terms of getting us ahead of the Brooklyn Nets in the next few years. I think you could say he would become Robin. Tatum would probably still be, like I said, let's say right now, Batgirl. You would still need Batman, in my opinion, at that point.
Kevin, want to add on that subject something because you started it. It's really interesting. It's kind of off season, but we are looking into the future, so it is still connected with these playoffs, right?
I totally agree with Daniel. I remember when Boston had Rick Fox and Brian Shaw, and they drafted both of those players. And I can't remember who the GM was at the time, but you know, the thing about it is that if you come out as a GM and says he was the best player on the draft board, he was the best player on the draft board, that means you're not needed. They want you, okay? And they came out and said that they were both needed in Boston for Boston to be able to compete with the Lakers. So, Rick Fox leaves and go out to LA. Then Brian Shaw leaves and go out to LA. And at that time, Boston still had a decent team with those guys on the floor. Was they browbeaters? No, but they were being competitive. They was in the rebuilding stage. So when them two guys kind of left, more so to me, Brian Shaw, because we target him for the longest time. When Brian Shaw left, that kind of put a bad taste in a lot of fans' mouth because he went out to LA. And he basically said that, he wanted to play for championships. He loved the weather out there. He said, and then just a lot of things I can do out there that I can do in Boston. I mean, if you think about it, who wants to be in Boston in January, February, November, December when it's snowing and you can't even get out your house? You know what I'm saying? If that, and I think that hurts us free agents wise, because of that. I mean, we can't hold our heads, hold our head up and say about the history of the team anymore because right now we're tied with the Lakers with so many with the same amount of championships. So you can't use that leading into why free agency come to Boston. Um, so it's going to be tough for Boston um, to get a free agent here. Like Igor said, the money situation. They didn't go over last time they went over the cap was when they had Paul Pierce, Kevin Garnett, and Ray Allen. They went over the cap that year, but they never. I don't think they've ever been over the cap prior to that either. You know what I'm saying? So that lets you know that Boston's being a little cheap about their money when if you want to win, you got to spend. That's my motto. If you want to win, you got to spend. You look at Golden State, and they're always over the luxury. I mean, they're over the luxury tax right now. You know what I'm saying? Because they knew even with Klay Thompson on the team, they would be competitive to maybe get to the Western Conference Finals. Um, and Boston's been to 3 out of the last 4 conference finals and really hadn't tapped into luxury tax. You know what I'm saying? I think that, once the owner sits back and say, yo, it's time for us to put all put all the money in one pot and let's go ahead and do what we gotta do, then that might be an ideal situation where they're basically gonna outbid somebody for the use of a basketball player. Um, and so that right there, I totally agree with you on Igor and that also and Daniel as well. It's just basketball is not what it used to be. Boston is not the destination where guys want to come and try to win championships no more. As far as basketball is concerned, I mean, right now, baseball team is doing really well. Football team drafted well. They got Mac Jones. I'm not big on Mac Jones, but I think he can fit into the system that Belichick wants as a quarterback. He's all about pocket passing quarterbacks. So I think he'll do well there. Um, so the grounds are being set for the other teams. And then you talk about the Bruins having the best record. I haven't really watched any hockey this year at all because I've been so depressed about the Celtics. um, but everybody else in Boston is doing well. And I'm happy for them. You know what I'm saying? And you look at this the Red Sox and getting rid of Mookie Betts. I'm a Dodger fan. I was happy for that. But you look at how fast they turned that around, baseball wise. So Celtics fans got to understand that sometimes, and they got to realize baseball played in the spring, so winter's not an issue. Football's played in the fall. Sometimes you may get 1 or 2 games that's maybe in the snow, in New England, so that's not an issue. With Boston, even though you live inside, but still they're the coldest time of the year. So hopefully Danny Ainge got a thinking cap on. He'll make some moves to bring somebody in. But I think it really depends on how bad they do in the playoffs this year that they make a major move. And I agree with Daniel too about the trade for Bradley Beal because I think Bradley Beal and Jalen Brown are pretty much equal. In playing, I think Bradley Beal might be a better free throw shooter than Jalen Brown. But again, like I said, Jalen Brown always improves every year. I don't know if he talked to Larry Bird or not, but he's improved every year he's been in the league. So I'm just kind of surprised to see what he improves the next year, which I think will be free throws and be more of an assist player than a one-on-one player. So I agree with both of you guys on that aspect.
Okay, nice segment, Kevin. Again, we don't have anything against Jalen Brown. I want to mention something that I heard again from Jeff Goodman, and again, he's the insider that is moving into the Celtic circles. He has access to the locker room, to the GMs. Um, he mentioned there is some kind of tension between Brown and Tatum. Not the hate, not dislike, but some kind of jealousy there, maybe because one of them is ahead of the other, one of them is getting higher recognition from the fans and basketball world. There is some kind of tension between them, and this is a little kind of worry. I mean, they do not hate each other, they respect each other's, but so I mean, you can see, for example, Brown said that Tatum is special guy, destined for the greatness, and he really prized Tatum high after 60 points against San Antonio Spurs in TD Garden yesterday. But he mentioned there is a tension, so this is thing to worry. And again, I think that we must build a team around Jason Tatum. And Kemba Walker, again, we all agree in the Celtics Talk Radio crew, Andy Vernon, of course, he's for it since the day one, that we should just cut Kemba Walker. But, I mean, one fan mentioned to me on the link about potential Jalen Brown trade. We should trade Kemba Walker instead of Jalen Brown for Bradley Beal. I said, absolutely, I agree. But let me ask you, do you think that other teams' general managers, they are dumb or brain damaged or retarded? For example, that you can offload your average or bad players or injured players, and he will just gift you their stars. It's not going to happen. If you trade Kemba Walker, you must pay. You must give one or two picks to trade Kemba Walker. You must add expiring contract. You must add young talent, and you still are not going to get in return the proper value, all-star player, all NBA player. You're going to get an average player. Um, I mean, in best case scenario, Marcus Smart type of player. Marcus Smart is not bad player, but he's not a star. So in best case scenario, you will have to pay money, picks, young player, and expiring contracts, and you're going to get the player that is a good role player for Kemba Walker. Kemba Walker is third option at the team, maximum contract guy. So Kemba Walker albatross contract is the big problem right now for the Celtics. This is problem number one, and it's clear as water. Brown has a bargain agreement, 12% close to max, and again, Danny Ainge did well with his contract extension, and we must give him credit for that, of course. Marcus Smart is up soon in 1 year to the contract extension. We have Jason Tatum under the contract, but again, people think in Boston. I saw the tweet. I think that the guy is working for Boston.com or official site, one of official sites, Max Lederman, if I'm correct, or something like that. I mean, he said, "quote If we lose from San Antonio, which young talented star under the contract Celtics fans would want to trade?" I mean. If that person, Max or any other fan, if they think that the fact that Jason Tatum is under contract with Boston Celtics, that means that it is carved into the stone, that he is going to stay in Boston, then he is naive or either fool. And I'm too kind with the words toward him. Kevin just explained perfectly, and Danny, and I don't want to return to that. I mean, if that person thinks that the fact that he is under contract with Boston Celtics will prevent Jason Tatum to go to Los Angeles when Los Angeles offer him contract. I mean, buddy, you're just dumb. Let me tell you that way. I mean, Boston, and again, if one sentence need to be remembered from my takes at this show, this is it. Jason Tatum is the future of Boston Celtics. This is clear. If it was not clear before this season, after this season, it is clear. We must recognize Jason Tatum as superstar, franchise player. We must build the team around Jason Tatum, and we must build contending team, not rebuilding team like we used to, but contending team around Jason Tatum, and that is meaning real bench, that is meaning real supporting cast to Jason Tatum because he cannot do it alone. He cannot score 60 points every night. Jason Tatum need help. So we must make Jason Tatum happy. If Bradley Beal trade is what Jason Tatum wants, do it. Do it all that is necessary. And if we do not recognize that, if we do not do that, I'm afraid that we will lose Jason Tatum. And Mark Slatherman and those guys that are saying, well, Brown and Tatum are under contracts, they're not going anywhere, they will be unpleasantly surprised one day, I'm afraid. Danny, you want to comment something?
Not comment on this. Kind of like wait for you to finish before we head to the next subject. So you're done, or you want to head to the next subject?
Yeah. Next subject. Please go. Yes.
Okay, so you guys. So basically, we'll finally get into the subject of looking at the playoff picture here. So again, the standings, you guys, are as follow. The Brooklyn Nets sit at 43-21 with the best record in the Eastern Conference. The half a game back of them is the Philadelphia 76ers, 42-21 in the second spot. The Milwaukee Bucks are in the third spot, 3.5 games behind Brooklyn, just 2 games behind the 76ers, or 3 games behind the 76ers. Then, yeah, I think it's safe to say those 3 are pretty much set in the area up there. Those 3 will be your top 3 seeds, basically. It's just a question of who's going to be number 1, who's going to be number 2, and who's going to be number 3. But it's going to be those top 3 who are going to finish in the top 3 spots overall. Then you have basically the teams that are in the 4 through 12 spots that I feel are going to be the ones that are going to be, flip-flopping the rest of the way for the next 2 weeks. The New York Knicks, number 4 again, 35-28, 7.5 out. But we'll, just put them at the in number 4, 1.5 games back. The Atlanta Hawks of the Knicks, 34-30, tied with us in the 6th spot, 34-30. Again, 9 games back, but only 1.5 games behind the Knicks for 4. Miami Heat, 33-30. They're a half game behind us and the Hawks, while they're in 7th. Then you have the Charlotte Hornets, who are 30-32. They're sitting in the 8th spot at the 12 games back. So, of course, they're just 3 games behind us, 2.5 behind the Miami Heat, and, of course, 4.5 behind the Knicks for the 4th spot. The Indiana Pacers are in the 9th spot, 29-33, 13 games back of the Brooklyn Nets. They are 5.5 games behind the Knicks, 4 games behind us and the Hawks, 3.5 behind the Miami Heat, 1 game behind the Charlotte Hornets. And then the Washington Wizards are in 10th, 29-34, 13.5 games behind the Brooklyn Nets. They are 6 games behind the New York Knicks for 4th, 4.5 games behind us in Atlanta, 4 games behind the Miami Heat, 1.5 games behind the Charlotte Hornets for 8th, and then just a half game behind the Indiana Pacers. And then as of right now, the two teams that I think, could possibly squeak their way in as of this point, they have they still have a chance at this point. So, that's why they're still, being mentioned. The Chicago Bulls sitting at 11th, 26-37, 16.5 games behind Brooklyn. They're just 3 games behind the Washington Wizards for the last spot in the play-in tournament. And then the Toronto Raptors also 26-37, 16.5, 3 games behind the Washington Wizards. Of course, they're only both those teams are just 3.5 behind the Indiana Pacers for 9th, 4.5 behind the Hornets for 8th, and then 7 games back of the Miami Heat for 7th, 7.5 behind us and the Atlanta Hawks for the 5th spot in this case and 6th spot. So you guys, when we talk about the potential matchups in this situation, we mentioned this last week on the show last Saturday, you guys. Of course, I've updated it at this point for anybody who is possibly not keeping track of the information for themselves and might want to might want an update on it. But when we talk about potential matchups, you guys in this situation and who the Celtics might want to actually face off with, and how well we fared against all these teams and all of that. If the playoffs were to start right now, the Celtics currently would face off with the Milwaukee Bucks in the first round. And let's just say, if that was to happen, you guys, that we would actually start like that, to be honest, that could be maybe the best option. Obviously, it would be the best option if you had to face one of those top 3 teams. Let's just say it like that. Because the Celtics this year have not beaten the Brooklyn Nets at all this year, 0-3. They have not beaten the Philadelphia 76ers this year, 0-3. But you do have a 2-1 record against the Milwaukee Bucks this season. So if you had to end up somewhere where in round 1 you were facing one of those 3 teams, you would want to finish in that 6th spot to face Milwaukee, knowing that you've already shown you can beat them twice. Granted, you had one win that came with that, banker off the glass by Jason Tatum, and a lot of people say that it was a fluke win in this situation, but the fact that you managed to beat them twice may just, say that there should be some confidence there for our guys if you were to go into a 7-game series with them come playoff time. And the fact that, you've kind of had the Milwaukee Bucks number the last few years in the playoffs might also help in this case. But, that would be the best opportunity if you was to have to face one of those 3 teams. You damn sure don't want to face Brooklyn because, again, of what I mentioned earlier, not only the fact that they got the 3 biggest stars in the matchup overall, if you was to basically rank the superstars in that series, the top 3 would go to them easily with Durant, Harden, and Irving coming before Tatum and Brown are listed. But then also, as I said, the ching for the NBA in this situation, ain't no way they're going to let you eliminate Brooklyn in round 1. And then obviously, you do not have the size to go toe-to-toe with the Philadelphia 76ers. But what if you was to actually move up? If you was to move up, you guys, obviously, you're probably looking at a matchup with the New York Knicks, potentially. Or maybe with the Atlanta Hawks in this case. The Celtics this year have currently a record of 1-2 with the Atlanta Hawks. So you lost the season series to the Hawks. So, I don't know what you guys would think about wanting to go toe-to-toe with the Hawks this year, knowing you lost 2 of 3 to that team this year. And then going toe-to-toe with the New York Knicks, the Celtics currently are tied with the Knicks in the season series, going 1-1 with them, with one more matchup left this season, which will just happen to be the final game of the regular season. So that game could mean absolutely nothing and we could see all the best players from both teams just sitting back, taking it easy. Or it could mean everything for those two teams when it comes to where they end up in the playoff standings, and we could see everybody on the court dressed up that night, giving it their all. So who knows what we could be seeing in that game. So I want you guys to give me your thoughts. Again, 2 weeks left. Do you think we should be basically aiming for a potential matchup in the 6th spot, knowing that you've basically got a 2-1 record against Milwaukee in this case? Or do you think basically, knowing that you've lost the season series to someone like Atlanta, would you rather go toe-to-toe with someone like that?
Kevin, do you want to go first?
Okay. What I like the series against Milwaukee. For 2 reasons. Like you said, we're 2-1 against those guys, and we might have a mental edge against them. Also, I think because Jabari Parker, if I'm not mistaken, was drafted by them, right? So that gives him motivation to want to play well against them. So
Jabari Parker was at Kings, if I'm correct, but he played for Milwaukee. Yes, he was part of Milwaukee team a couple of years ago.
So that gives him a motivation right there to prove to them that he's still a better player than when they thought he was. I just like the Milwaukee series better. I think New York would be a fun series to watch because it's the younger guys against the younger guys, in a sense. But I think that would be a scary playoff because New York ain't got nothing to lose. And if New York were to beat Boston, you can almost write it down. You can write the check to the bank that they're going to get a top free agent because that shows that they compete at a high level, and the only thing they need is maybe 1 or 2 high-profile players to come in and help them guys become winners. So that would be a scary series. It would be a fun series to watch, but it'd be a scary series. But I'm down for Milwaukee, and then wherever it goes from there, it goes from there. I think if I had to play Brooklyn or Philly, that's kind of hard. I will probably have to say Philly because Philly's just real confident against us. And we know when it comes to playoffs, sometimes they don't play to their potential. And so we might be able to squeak one by them, maybe. But because they got Doc Rivers, I give them the edge coach-wise. If we were to play the Sixers, that might end in 6 games, maybe. I don't know if that series would go 7 games, and I don't know if that would go 7 games at all. But that's I kind of agree with Daniel. I would like to see Milwaukee because I think we match up well against them. What happened to Igor?
Igor's camera appears to have gone out in this situation. So see if he comes back in. So again, a 2-1 record against the Milwaukee Bucks definitely shows the reason why you want to finish in the top 6 in this case, knowing that you're 0-3 against Brooklyn and 0-3 against Philadelphia. In this case, finishing in anywhere below the 6th seed is almost a guarantee that you're going to get knocked out in round 1. Even though, like you said, Kevin, Philadelphia has shown a habit to, and it looks like we have Igor back. Philadelphia has shown a habit to end up basically flopping in the playoffs. So they basically, play up to their, talent in the regular season, and then they come and they basically play like a bunch of, elementary students basically in the playoffs. But this season, you guys, when we look at the Philadelphia 76ers, when you look at teams in this case, and again, the teams I just mentioned, from Brooklyn down to Toronto, the 76ers, you guys, have a record of 24-6 against all those other teams that were basically put in that list. 2-1 against Brooklyn, the only team this year that has a winning record in terms of, I should say, the only team that actually has a swept the season series from Philadelphia is Milwaukee. Milwaukee went 3-0 against Philadelphia this year, but 2-1 against Brooklyn, 3-0 against New York, 2-1 against Atlanta, again 3-0 against us. They're 2-0 against Miami with one game left to go in that season series, 3-0 against Charlotte, 2-0 against Indiana with one game left to go in that matchup, 3-0 against the Wizards, 2-0 against the Bulls with one game left to go in that matchup, and then 2-1 against the Toronto Raptors. So, again, the only one that actually has a winning record against them is the Milwaukee Bucks in this situation. So, this 76ers team this year, again, based on history, you could basically say maybe you got a shot if you got it with them that they might basically, poop their pants and screw up in the second round. But then again, they look like a completely different team under Doc Rivers. That basically it could be very well that this year it's proven that all of the screw-ups from the previous years were simply a situation of the head coaching, issues they had, and that now that you have a championship caliber coach, you will not see that type of screw-up done again, which is why you really got to consider in this case which one. You pick your poison. Do you want to get beat by Brooklyn, knowing that you got to deal with Kyrie Irving being able to gloat that he knocked out his former team, or do you want to basically go with Philadelphia, knowing that the coach you allowed to walk away because you decided to go into a rebuild will get the right to basically say he beat his former team? Igor, what do you think?
Okay, I don't want to face any of the top three teams before the second round. I agree that out of the top three teams at the Eastern Conference, that is Brooklyn, Philadelphia, Milwaukee, from the reasons that you mentioned, Milwaukee, we have the highest chances. Part of the reason because they have only one superstar, because Chris Middleton is the all-star, but he's not superstar. While Philadelphia and Brooklyn has three, Philadelphia has one or two, depend how you rank Simmons, but whatever. But yes, we have 2-1 against Milwaukee. You mentioned how we defeat Milwaukee. Of course, with Jason Tatum of the board, 3 over Giannis Antetokounmpo. In one of the 3 meetings, Giannis Antetokounmpo didn't play. We had injured players, so I would not take those games for granted. One way or another against Milwaukee. If Giannis Antetokounmpo is healthy, I think that currently he's having problems with the ankle. If Giannis Antetokounmpo is healthy, I would give advantage to Milwaukee in that series from a couple of reasons. First, I still think that they have the best player in the series, Giannis Antetokounmpo, and you know how it is in the NBA. So unless Tatum explodes and really take over the series and became the best player in that series, I don't see us defeating Milwaukee in the series. Sadly, they defeated us with the same core: Chris Middleton, Giannis Antetokounmpo, Brook Lopez. Pat Connaughton. They defeated us 2019. It was one of the most painful eliminations of the Boston Celtics in the playoffs in recent histories. Second round elimination with Kyrie Irving, Gordon Hayward, if I'm correct, Al Horford. Then that team, Mook Morris and Aaron Baines, and that team fell apart after.
Guessing
Say,
that it was. Yeah, I was gonna say your internet might be acting up.
you cannot hear me?
So now we hear you, but your the video kind of froze and your audio went out for a moment there.
Okay, is now everything all right?
Yeah.
Okay, I wanted to say that they are stronger than 2019, in my opinion. You mentioned their record against Eastern Conference. They are playing constantly good. Even when Giannis is out, they are playing well. Their starting lineup consisting of Chris Middleton, forward Giannis Antetokounmpo, forward Dante DiVincenzo, shooting guard Brook Lopez, center, and the new point guard, uh, you can say not a superstar, but a star, Jrue Holiday. The other night he posted 29 points, 10 assists, 4 rebounds. He is kind of Rajon Rondo type of player. He can post double-double, triple-doubles. He re-signed with them, and
Hey Daniel, I think Igor's froze.
let me try again. Let me try again. Let me try again. Let me try again. Let me try. Let me try. Chuk, chuk, chuk. Okay. Can you hear and see me, Daniel, right now?
Yep.
Okay, excellent. I wanted to say that they have the same core in Giannis Antetokounmpo, Chris Middleton, and Brook Lopez. Giannis is always Giannis. He's injury prone, and his problems are injuries. If he's healthy, Giannis will be Giannis. We have bad memories of Chris Middleton becoming a star in the series against us. And Brook Lopez is a modern type of center. You know, he shoots a lot of threes. They have Jrue Holiday. The other night he had 29 points, 10 assists, 4 rebounds against Houston. Again, it's against Houston, but he is a type of center, type of point guard like Rajon Rondo. And it seems like they have found the stable point guard after Eric Bledsoe. Ex-Celtics point guard Jeff Teague, he signed with them. He's playing like ninth, 10th.
And again, so we apologize for the technical difficulties on Igor's side, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh man, again.
Okay, now you're back.
Apologize. I was talking about Bobby Portis. I said that he's from Chicago and he's shooting threes. And then we have Pat Connaughton. If you recall, Pat Connaughton, the good parties against us in the playoffs. Guard from the bench who can play the defense. And Brian Forbes is the new guard. He scored 30 points against the other night. And what is characteristic for Mike Budenholzer teams, guys, they are all shooting threes. Bobby Portis, he is coming from the bench and he's shooting threes. PJ Tucker, he's shooting threes. Everybody in Milwaukee is shooting threes. And the other night against Philadelphia, they defeated them like 136-98 or something. So when the threes are falling, they're really hard to stop. So to conclude, if it's possible, I would want to escape Milwaukee in the first round. Kevin mentioned New York. Listen, I'm giving New York all the credits for their regular season run, but regular season is regular season. And I don't think that they are true contenders, but I agree with Kevin. The series against them would be tough because they want to beat Boston. They're young, they're hungry for success. And somehow, maybe Atlanta would be the easiest opponent in the first round, but we will see. So, Danny, what do you think? Apologize for issues again.
Well, again, I think all three of us are in agreement that if you had to choose between, Brooklyn, Milwaukee, and Philadelphia, Milwaukee is the one, as you said. I've already explained my reasoning to members in the group, for example, why you wouldn't want Brooklyn, and and that's exactly why I've also said this season to me is a lost season, especially once James Harden got there. To me, that kind of sealed the deal that no matter what Philadelphia does, no matter what Milwaukee does, even their seasons were a lost season unless some sort of a freak injury happens from now until the Eastern Conference Finals that kind of levels the playing field, like a broken leg for Durant or, situation for Kyrie Irving, like a broken arm. Something would have to happen to one of those three superstars to make it where, the NBA will have to say, okay, is the remaining two stars on Brooklyn that much better in storylines compared to, let's say, Simmons and Embiid versus LeBron and Davis, or Giannis and Middleton versus LeBron and Davis in this situation? Something would have to happen that would have to level the playing field for the NBA to think of the implications for the NBA Finals to give another team a chance for them to say, you know what, let's just leave things the way they are. Let's see basically who really is the better team. Other than that, as of right now, there ain't nothing that's making me think that that the league is not going to screw whoever basically is facing the Brooklyn Nets in the NBA's Eastern Conference Finals this year to guarantee a Lakers-Nets NBA Finals. There's just too much money on the line in this case for the league this year, knowing they've lost a lot of money thanks to the COVID, situation this season. But when it comes to who the Celtics could face overall, other than Milwaukee, you already said Atlanta. You right now are 1-2 this season against them, and obviously in this case, you are in a situation when you look at that the Celtics. I think, Igor, you gotta look at the situation as though, which Celtics team are we gonna see come playoff time? Yesterday's game is a perfect example of what I'm speaking about, ladies and gentlemen. Do we see the Celtics team that we saw in the first half, the team that didn't want to play any sort of defense and allowed the other team to go up by 32 points? Or do we see the Celtics team that basically took it up a notch on the defensive end in the second half and basically managed to come back because of it. Think about it, Igor, and Kevin, you made a valid point in this case as to why, and it's exactly why I'm going to say this. Atlanta, you guys, New York, all those teams like that, they basically got nothing to lose in that first round, regardless of who you're playing. They got nothing to lose, but everything to gain. For us, on the other hand, it's a totally different story when you go toe-to-toe with them. You know the crap that's going to be spoken about this Celtics team? We're already seeing it in the group, and I'm not saying it isn't warranted in this situation. Of course, we got plenty of fans in our group and plenty of fans in Celtics Nation that act like the Celtics don't deserve any criticism. But imagine you play against the Atlanta Hawks, and because our guys overlooked them or didn't take the game serious enough, you end up being eliminated by the Hawks in the first round. You know the stain that's going to leave on the resume for Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown?
Or being eliminated in the playing tournament, Danny. Or being eliminated.
Or even that. And let's say if you don't finish in the 6th spot and you finish in 7th, 8th, 9th, or 10th, because that's still possible if the Celtics don't take the next 2 weeks serious at this point. You could even finish in those slots, and next thing you know, you could easily be facing a team like the Toronto Raptors, in this case, which of course right now the Charlotte Hornets, or the Bulls.
They kicked our asses the other night, you know.
Yeah, or the Chicago Bulls, or the Washington Wizards, or the Indiana Pacers. You know, there's several teams you could be facing based on how, you know, all depends on how the next 2 weeks go. But still, our point, Igor, in this case, is the fact that we're simply saying that the Celtics this year, they have not done anything to take anything for granted. Ladies and gentlemen, I just said to you, the Philadelphia 76ers, against those teams I mentioned earlier, 24-6. That's an 80% winning percentage with only 3 games left to play against that list of teams. You want to know where our Celtics are at against that exact same group of teams? Ladies and gentlemen, 15-14. Barely above the 500 mark. For a team that was supposed to be in the top 4 in the Eastern Conference. Really. 15-14. And we have a comment from our buddy Jerome Carlo right now in this case. So let's bring this up. He says, you guys, it's on Brad right now. If he can't control his players like what he did on that first half of that Spurs game, Celtics will lose every single game in the playoffs in this case. So, again, thanks for the comment, Jerome. But exactly, in this situation, if he doesn't control the players in this situation like he's supposed to as a coach, a head coach, then technically we could very well end up playing a team like the Atlanta Hawks and get beaten in round 1 at this point. Because our guys pretty much have shown that they damn sure don't play well in games that take place early. It seems like every game this year, you guys, if tip-off is at 1:05 p.m., you may as well simply just put it down as an L and not even basically have the game take place. Literally, our only chance at winning the games this year has been if the game basically is taking place at 7:05 p.m. or later. Any game that's at 1 o'clock, 3 o'clock, or anything like that has basically been us getting our ass kicked. That's literally the way it's felt. I don't know if it's felt like that for you guys, but that's pretty much the way it's felt to me. We cannot start a game early and basically have a chance of winning. That game against Charlotte that you mentioned, Igor, that we got destroyed, was a perfect example of that. That game was a 1 p.m. tip-off. Yet Charlotte, the team that had more, that basically had like Hayward missing in that game, literally, they were wide awake and ready to play in that game, but we weren't.
Hayward, Malik Monk, and LaMelo Ball.
Yep. So literally, this Celtics team at 15-14 in this case. Now, of course, obviously, you know, the Atlanta Hawks are also 15-14 in this in that same, you know, against that same margin of teams. But again, Philadelphia 24-6. They got the best record out of all those teams. Then you got the Brooklyn Nets at 19-10, 65 percent. Then it's Milwaukee at 16-11 at 59%. Then you look at the Celtics at the 15-14, and the Atlanta Hawks tied at 51.7%. Then comes the New York Knicks at 16-15, 51.6%. The other teams after that, you guys, are in the 40s and 20s in this situation. But literally, for a team that's supposed to be at the fifth spot in the Eastern Conference, fighting with like Milwaukee, Brooklyn, and Philadelphia for the upper spots in the Eastern Conference, to be barely above 500 against these teams that you're basically supposed to be competing against, and yet you got a losing record to Atlanta. You have basically right now a 1-0 record against Miami, which you got 2 games left against them, which of course those 2 games will take place on May 11th and May 9th. So both those games, luckily for us, both those games will be at home. But who knows what can happen in those games? I mean, hello, you had them last year basically in the Eastern Conference Finals, and you lost to them in that final round in this situation, and you were supposed to be the better team last year. So that makes us think that basically you'll beat them this time around, and you're supposed to be the better team this season. So you got that matchup in this case. Then you have, obviously, the next one, which just happens to be the last game you would play, which is that matchup against Chicago, which that game is scheduled to currently take place on May 7th. So, of course, that's right before the 2 games against Miami. So, I'm just saying, Igor and Kevin, I don't have any confidence in saying that there's any matchup that is a gimme for the Celtics squad. I think if you play Charlotte, if Charlotte is healthy, they can easily knock you out, and you can easily knock them out. Literally,
I mean, we lost twice from Detroit. I mean, what we are talking about? Listen, we struggled against Detroit. We are struggling against you. Do you see what is the pattern? We are struggling against the teams that are having strong front court, tall and massive centers that are playing back to the basket. We are struggling against the teams that are playing physical, and against Charlotte, we saw the other pattern. We are struggling against the teams that are playing a really high pace offense because our defense is not so good this year, like Kevin mentioned, and we are struggling when the teams are playing with the high pace, fast break points. We are struggling with those kind of teams. I mean, depends on the matchups. You mentioned you had good points. I think that we have winning record against New York, but Kevin mentioned. I mean, you must give New York really credit this season. I didn't see this coming, considering their roster, but they're really having breakthrough year. So I mean, New York and Atlanta would not be easy matchup in the playoffs, but I think that we would be favorites against New York and Atlanta, even Miami in the first round, unlike the top 3 teams. And that's what I want, to be favorite in the first round, never mind home court or not. So, Kevin?
Um, Again with the playoffs scenario, it man, we don't know what team gonna show up. That's that's the biggest issue. What team is it gonna show up for the Celtics? Are we gonna see the team that's down by 30? Or are we gonna see the team that's consistently playing good basketball, playing good defense, that's sharing the ball? Um, we don't know, and we won't know until we see them play. But I can almost guarantee you that whoever they play in the playoffs, other than maybe New York, we're gonna probably see a game where they're gonna get blown out. We're gonna probably see a game that's really close that they should win. We're gonna see games that they might blow them out, and we might see games that that's gonna be close that they could win, that they should win or might win. We just don't know what we're gonna see on any given night. Um, and this is where coaching has to come play a part. Brad just has to be more aggressive. He has to be more vocal with his guys, and expressing them the interest of being in the playoffs and um, advancing. And if I'm not mistaken, the season's over by July, right? Right before the Olympics. So they got August and September, October. They got 3 months off actually, um, to rest and get back into the gym in September, early October. So I don't know. Like I said, I don't know what team we're going to see. They're so inconsistent. I don't know any given night. Like, they remind me so much of the teams in the '70s and right before right before Bird got there, right before Pierce got there. Um, one night they could be on cloud nine blowing teams out, and the next night they get blown out. So I don't know what we're going to see with this team's Daniel. One thing we can hope for is that some kind of motivation gets into their system to help them be a better team than what they've been during the season. But you are who you are, and you can't change who you are. When it gets to the point where you start seeing them jack up threes at the end of the game, where we're down by 6 or 9, whatever, that's what they do. That's what they've been doing all year. Um, but we saw with Tatum scoring 60 points, he got to the free throw line 17 times. Okay, so that should tell you something. If you go to the basket, you should get the fall, you should get the calls. Hopefully you get the calls if you play aggressive enough. You're gonna get those type of calls, and that slows the games down for one. Puts you on the foul line. It takes the balls out their hands, and now that means they can't fast break the ball up the court because they got to take the ball out again. So those things mean a lot in the playoffs. So hopefully we can play a lot better than we've been playing during the season. Daniel.
Okay, we have Igor back.
Mm.
Igor, you back with us?
Yes. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
I was muted. Just to add that we must be concentrated the last 9 games. I mean, every single game, the last 9 games must be just like elimination game for us. The attitude must be one by one game, and every single game is just like finals game number 7. And if we have that kind of attitude, we can be even number 4. I mean, the New York Knicks are not far away from us. We have 2 losses more. We have 30. I mean, if I'm correct. So I mean, they are catchable. Anything can happen if you have the good motivation and if you can have the good attitude. I want to address to Jerome Colos comments. It's on Brad. If he can control players, we will lose every single game in the playoffs. Yeah, that's what we discussed, and I'm amazed, guys, that some of the fans actually think that Brad Stevens is not responsible for the Celtic struggles, that he's not guilty for all. And I'm asking those fans, I understand the injuries, I understand every circumstances, no home court, no fans, injuries and that kind of stuff. I understand everything, but I'm asking you, how can you say that the coach is not responsible for the behavior of the team? How can you say that when the team is oscillating so much, it's going from minus 32 down to plus 5 up, when the team is having such high oscillations against the other team, I mean, you should realistically beat, easier. I mean, how can you say that it's not coach's fault? I mean, it's coach's responsibility to prepare the team adequately. And somebody will say we didn't have enough time for training and the traveling and that kind of stuff. I mean, I have question again. The Stevens is having like 10 assistant coaches, and I'm asking you guys, what the hell those 10 assistant coaches are doing? I mean, he said practically that they are developing players, and some of them are doing offense, some of them are doing defense. Okay, the others are doing scouting, statistics. Okay, I understand that, but how can you? I mean, Stevens and his staff, they are struggling to prepare the team for every single game. So how is that not fault of Brad Stevens? And not to mention those changes in the lineups, constant changes. I understand when three guys from the starting lineups are missing, Danny, then you must put the three subs in, right? And this is not Stevens' fault. We struggle. Our starting unit struggle because we changed the starting unit. But when you have everybody available for the game, and when you change the second unit every single freaking game, Daniel, how are you supposed to have good bench performances night in, night out? And we are only 9 games into the playoffs. And what is he thinking ahead of the playoffs? I really have no clue. Is he going to cut the rotations to 8, or is he going to play like Butler Bulldogs, 11-man rotations? I mean, you never know with Brad Stevens, So Brad Stevens is like X Factor. When I mean X Factor, it's like big unknown. What kind of Brad Stevens will appear in the playoffs? That is also the big question. That's about Jerome Kolos' question, which is good. Danny?
Okay, well, so to continue, basically a good answer, Igor, to continue with our discussion, let's get some more insight on the discussion with the playoffs. So I want your thoughts. You guys said you were worried about the Knicks, potentially, if we play the New York Knicks. So I want to get some insight on going back to the two matchups, you guys. So again, 1-1 record with the New York Knicks at this point. So you've got the game that we won back on April 7th. The Celtics were victorious 101-99 here in Boston. The Celtics played without Kemba Walker and Evan Fournier in that game, while the New York Knicks had to play without John Henson and Mitchell Robinson in that game itself. So obviously, two players for each team missing in that game. So, not like a big, like one team having a major, advantage overall. Two players on each side at that point. And obviously, when you look at the stats overall, close game. So compared to the first one where the Knicks completely destroyed you in this situation by 30 points, but you were able to walk away victorious thanks to a pretty good performance by Brown and Tatum. Jaylen Brown, 32 points, Tatum, 25 points in that game. And then Marcus Smart added 17 as your third high scorer. Thompson added 7 off the bench, Ojale 6, Pritchard 2, Grant Williams scored 0 as the fourth guy off the bench. Nobody else got to play in that game off the bench. And then Time Lord with 6 points as the starting center. Romeo Langford, 6 points as the fifth starter. So The first game, you lost 105-75. That game, though, was all the way back in January on the 17th. The Celtics, you guys, their injury report, I got the injury report right here from that game. The Celtics were without Carson Edwards, Taco Fall, Romeo Langford, Jason Tatum, and Time Lord in that game. Meanwhile, in terms of Kemba Walker, he was returning from injury in that matchup. And so that was a game where Kemba Walker, his minutes were limited because of the fact he was returning from injury. In this case, he only got to play 20 minutes, while Marcus Smart only got to play 29 minutes in that game. I believe it was a situation where the Celtics were having to play the next night in this case. I can double check that just to be sure in this situation. So actually, no. So basically, because you got destroyed, the Celtics had to pull their starters early. So Brad Stevens decided, even though, the team had 2 days off or 3 days off before they played Philadelphia, there was no point of basically having the guys play. So again, Edwards, Taco Fall, Romeo Langford, Tatum out, along with Time Lord. Kemba Walker and Daniel Tice were on the injury report, but both of them got to play. Meanwhile, for the Knicks, Alec Burks and Frank Ntilikina were the only two missing from that game in this situation back on that day, all the way back on the 17th in this situation. So obviously that's a totally different circumstance. So obviously, you guys, what do you think? You lose one game by 30, win one by only 2 in this case. But the game you lose by 30, you have no Jason Tatum. Kemba Walker obviously is returning from injury. The game you win in this situation, like I said, you're missing Kemba. You got Tatum and Brown, and basically Tatum and Brown get the job done. And you've already got that mindset of, you know what, they gave us a whooping last time. Let's basically give them some payback. But you only managed to win by 2. What do you think? Do you think basically that third game, which is the last game of the season, would have to basically be the deciding factor of whether we should really fear the Knicks or not?
You deserve a car that thrills you.
Kevin, do you want to go or me to go? Okay, I will start.
I was cutting it out, Igor. Daniel. Can you tell me the last part of what you were talking about?
So basically, you're 1-1 against the Knicks. The game against the game they beat you in, you had quite a bit of injuries, but no Jason Tatum, and basically was the big one. The game that you won, Tatum did play, but no Kemba Walker in this case. So do you think the game against the Knicks at the end of the season finale, that would be the one that determines whether the Knicks should really be considered a threat? Or do you think pretty much we should basically say they aren't much of a threat because of the fact that at this point, the game that you lost to them, you were losing without basically your best player?
I kind of agree with you on the scenario with the Celtics playing against the Knicks. I mean, there's games where we had players playing and we had players not playing, and we won some, lost some, But again, we don't look at the loss. I mean, we don't look at the win or the loss. We look at the body language of the games they played against the New York Knicks. And the body language in all 3 games, in my opinion, wasn't really good body language. Even though we won 2 out of 3, the body language in the games wasn't that good. But again, there's certain plays in the games where if we don't make them, the Knicks might have made a run to maybe even get closer to winning games against us. Again, like I said, I think that would be a fun series to see. Boston and New York, especially if they add more crowds to the stadiums, that would be a good series to see. But overall, I think Boston should be favored to win that. If everybody's healthy, Tom Lillard's healthy, Kimba's healthy, Jason's healthy, Jalen's healthy, um, Romeo's healthy, then we can. I think we haven't seen that whole team be healthy one game this year. So if they're healthier, they're healthy during the next series. I don't think that the games are in jeopardy. I think the reason why we think they're in the reason why we think they might be the Knicks might have a chance now is because of the way they lost. Again, about their body language. Um, so to me, I think I got to get an edge to the Celtics against the Knicks, especially with experience that the Celtics have. The only person they really have on the team that's been deep in the playoffs is Derrick Rose. Um, Even though Randall is playing out of his mind, and that's one guy I know when he was a free agent that Boston definitely should have took a look at, but they didn't even sniff him at all. But I think that with a maturity of being to the Eastern Conference Finals, 3 of the last 4 years, um, and going to some Game Sevens, I think that helps us out a little bit. I think that's our start five helps us out. You have Tristan Thompson, who's been to the finals. Um, you have Jason, Jalen. Um, Kimba got to playoffs last year. And that's pretty much it for us, but that's the nucleus of the team. Only thing you got to do is have the bench just do their part, and we should be fine. Hopefully, Fournier picks up his scoring a little bit more in the playoffs because now Brad should be at a 7, 8 man, maybe 9 man rotation. Um, but the way he does things now, man, you don't know who's coming in for who. I mean, you look at the game last night. Romeo didn't play. Simi didn't play. Parker didn't play. And they were down by 30-some points. I don't understand his. I really don't understand his rotation of players he plays, but he knows he has a better take on them than I do. It's just that you have to question sometimes. Um, what he doing? What is he doing sometimes? So, I would definitely give the favor to the Celtics. I think that would even help the younger guys if they were to get one playoff series win underneath their belt. Um, I, Me personally speaking, I think the Knicks should win one game and that should be it. Boston should dominate the next four, or next well, however they get to the four, or however they get to the Knicks get to that one. But I think Boston should dominate that series, um, and just move on to the next one. Hopefully, that answers your question.
Okay, well, I agree with Kevin. Boston favorites. Boston in 5 or 6 against New York, no matter the home court. Of course, if you play in New York as a home court, I'm giving New York. Uh, I mean, 2 games maybe to win. Julius Randle is the key guy. Julius Randle against Jason Tatum, that kind of matchup will decide the series pretty much. New York is having in on their roster Norris Noel. He was connected with Boston numerous times in the last 5 plus years. Alfred Payton, point guard from Orlando. Then Reggie Bullock, guard forward, and RJ Barrett, guard forward. That's starting lineup. Uh, then
Okay, so Igor, looks like you're okay. Now he's back. You're back, Igor.
Thank you. Again, despite I'm expecting Julius Randle to have great series against us. Maybe a couple of other guys, their centers, Derrick Rose. But Boston is pretty much deeper in the starting unit, even in the second unit when Fournier is back with Parker. I think if everybody's healthy, especially Time Lord, we will be able to handle Julius Randle down low. If our starting center Robert Williams is not there, we will have more troubles with their centers. But Boston in 5 or 6.
Okay, so then to go for the next one in this situation, we'll quickly try to go through these and then end it from there. The Hawks, you two. We have a 1-2 record, and my thing actually okay, there it is. So 1-2 record in this situation, and we lost the first one, 122 to 114 against them. In that matchup that was back on the 17th of February, the Celtics had no Langford, no Smart, no Tice, no Walker in that game, while the Atlanta Hawks were without Bojan Bogdanovic, Chris Dunn, DeAndre Hunter, and Rajon Rondo in that case. Then you had the second game that we played them, which was just 2 days later, which the Celtics were victorious, 121-109. The Celtics were only missing Marcus Smart. Obviously, Langford was still out at that time from his injury, so Marcus Smart was the only player who was a regular rotation player missing. The Hawks were missing Bogdanovic, Dunn, Hunter, and Rajon Rondo still at that point. And then when you go to the third game in this case, and it looks like, okay, here it is. The third game, the Celtics were beaten 127-112. That game was the only one that got played in the Atlanta. The Celtics had no injuries whatsoever in that matchup in this case from the looks of it, while the Hawks were missing Bogdanovic, Collins, Chris Dunn, Hunter, and Cam Reddish. So, or at least Bogdanovic was out, Chris Dunn was out, DeAndre Hunter was out. John Collins in this situation was questionable. And so just to double check whether or not he actually played, I got the box score here. So Collins did not play that night. And then Cam Reddish was doubtful. And so Reddish did not play. So they were all out. So the Celtics had a full roster that night. And of course, still got beat by the Hawks. So you can basically say overall, you guys, other than that first matchup, that the Celtics were without, Walker and Smart in this situation. But then again, you can say, Bogdanovic, Walker, Chris Dunn. So I think you can almost say we kind of leveled out when you look at Bogdanovic, Dunn, Hunter, and Rondo versus Smart, Tyson, Walker. I think I would say if you're not going to face, Milwaukee, if I got to look between the other teams, I deep down probably would not want to face Atlanta. Atlanta has kind of shown this year, for some reason, even if we got a full roster or, the full lineup, they seem to have our number. Even if we are completely healthy, there's something about this Hawks team that seems to show that for some reason they can manage to knock us off. Just, people, I know that you can basically say a lot of people do not take Bogdanovic seriously in this situation, or they may not take, Chris Dunn, DeAndre Hunter, and all these other guys seriously, but still, the fact that you have had basically more of a healthy roster each and every time we face this team, and yet you lost 2 out of 3 to them this season, makes me think that for some reason mentally they may have it over you. And if you face them in the playoffs, knowing that again this is a team that doesn't have much, to lose, and so again if they face you, no, there's not going to be any pressure on them to actually win that series. So they could. Something tells me that could be a recipe for disaster. What do you think?
I agree with you on that. I'm kind of scared of the Atlanta Hawks, but I think that would be a good series too. Basically because they don't have nothing to lose as well. They're in the rebuilding stage, so um, all that they can do is just build on what they have right now, and also try to get a free agent there. And it's funny though. We're talking about teams that wasn't in the bubble making the playoffs, um, because they had all extra rest. So I guess it was a good thing for some of them, bad thing for other. But I could probably say that series will go seven. For some fact that we don't know, we still haven't been able to stop Trey Young. And the key to stopping Trey Young is to make him play defense. Now I think when Pritchard plays, he makes him play a little more defense than he does normally if Kemba's in the game. So that would be a good matchup for Celtic fans to watch. Simply because again you have a team that don't have nothing to lose. Um, all they can do is put a feather in the cap. If they take seven games, they be like, look how young we are compared to them, and they've been to 3 Eastern Conference Finals. 3 out of the last 4 years have been Eastern Conference Finals, so that means you can compete with anybody. So that one would be a scary one too, and I think that series would go. I think that series would go 7 games only because I think Atlanta will open up the arena to everybody to come down there and watch them play, regardless. They don't even have to be vaccinated or nothing. They probably don't even wear a mask. Just come to the game because they're playing the Celtics. And last time the Hawks, I think the last time we played the Hawks in the meaningful playoff game was when was back in the '80s. Even though the Hawks got us a couple years ago, they really wasn't that great of a team. They outplayed. They was better than they were. They played better than what we thought they were. But this team right here is up and coming. So again, I just say this. I think that they have nothing to lose. The and plus they got a veteran coach as well. The worst case scenario is that they can go in and get swept. If they're going to get swept, then they got to rethink. Okay, is this team going in the right direction? Even though we made the playoffs, I don't know if this team's going in the right direction because we shouldn't get swept in the playoffs against a team that we played so well during the season. But again, we're looking at a young team never in the playoffs. We're looking at a team that we know that when the playoffs starts, that becomes more of a half-court game. Okay, which would be in our favor, in a sense. So, it would be a great series to see. I'll tell you, I would be excited to watch that series. But I think Boston probably win that in 7. Igor.
Okay, thanks, Kevin. Again, Atlanta is currently trailing 62-54 against Chicago. They started Trey Young, who is having 22 points and a half. Then they have Tony Snell, guard. Then, of course, John Collins, center. Or power forward center John Collins, Clint Capella center, and Bogdan Bogdanovic. This Bogdan Bogdanovic is Serbian, my Serbian from the Kings. There is another Bojan Bogdanovic, Croatian player, also sharp shooting guard, forward. Bojan Bogdanovic is playing for Utah. From the bench, they lost Rondo, so they are weaker, but they have Lou Williams.
And again, Igor, your thing went out.
Okay.
Okay, he's back.
Can
You're back, Igor.
can you hear me now? You can
Yep.
hear me, right?
Yep.
Okay. So I said they have Okonogwu, they have Danilo Gallinari, they have Solomon Hill, they have Kevin Huertel, guard forward. In other words, they are 10 deep players. They are not easy team. They are young. And what is awkward for us, what we struggled, this is Trey Young and Clint Capella or John Collins pick and roll. So that pick and roll 1-5 with Young and Collins and Young Capella, we struggle to defend. Also, Gallinari and Okonogwu, Williams can score from the bench, so they will not be easier. I mean, I can easily see the 7 games, especially if Atlanta is having home court advantage, and especially if the fans are there. They're young team, and the fans will give them motivation to play against us. I think, Kevin, that we eliminated Atlanta 4-3 on our path to the championship 2008. I must check about it, but I'm pretty sure that's true. And I think that Trey Young is a good young star, and he will give us troubles. But again, against Atlanta and New York, we are favorites. Now, I think Atlanta is better team than New York. But listen, Julius Randle is playing that good that he is entering MVP conversation. So again, it's about the players, it's about the matchups. You know, when the player is playing on the MVP level, just like Jason Tatum, just like Julius Randle, he's carrying the whole team on its back, just like Locomotive is doing. So I mean, we would be favorites against Atlanta and New York. Uh, I mean, let's say 6, but that's it. Danny?
Okay, so then the last matchup that we'll discuss in this case, because it's probably the last one that would likely be a potential in round one, would be the one with Charlotte, you guys. So obviously, we look at the fact that this matchup we just finished seeing Charlotte in terms of that, just finishing up the season series with them. So obviously, we will not be playing them again the rest of the regular season. So again, if we face them, it would be in round one of the NBA playoffs in this case. But the Celtics finish, 2-1 against them this season. And obviously, this matchup had a lot of injuries that played a role in this case. But the Celtics were the ones that benefited more than anyone. So I think you can pretty much say we really didn't get to tell what the Celtics would have looked like if they would have gone against the true, Charlotte Hornets, basically. So you beat the Hornets 116-86 back on April 4th in this case. That matchup, you guys, saw the Celtics have only 2 players missing, which was Ojale and Thompson, while the Hornets were missing LaMelo Ball, Gordon Hayward, and Malik Monk. So obviously, just Gordon Hayward alone is a huge loss for the Charlotte Hornets in this case. So ain't no way you can compare Thompson and Ojale to Gordon Hayward. Then you add LaMelo Ball and Malik Monk on top of that in this case, and Boston had a massive advantage. So it's understandable why in this situation, a 30-point victory, goes in Boston's favor in this case. Then the second matchup in this situation goes in the Hornets' favor, 125-104, which of course that game took place April 25th, so just a few days ago. That matchup saw the injury report feature the Celtics only missing Time Lord. Yet again, LaMelo Ball missing, Malik Monk missing, Gordon Hayward missing, but this time Nate Darling was also missing for the Charlotte Hornets. So again, a massive advantage for the Boston Celtics, yet the Hornets are the ones that come away victorious. And then just recently, the last game that basically took place, which was the 28th, April 28th, 120-111, Boston is victorious. That matchup saw the injury report end up, and I have it right here, give me a sec. Portland, here it is. So the Celtics in that one were missing Kemba Walker, while the Charlotte Hornets were missing Nate Dowling, LaMelo Ball, Gordon Hayward, and Malik Monk. So again, the same four from the second game, but the Celtics missing one player, but it's Kemba Walker this time. So the Celtics managed to come away with that victory. So basically, you guys, you've got a 2-1 record against Charlotte, but you have not played them with Gordon Hayward this year at this point. So, how in the world can we really say at this point that technically, who got the better end of the Kemba Walker deal if we haven't seen the Charlotte Hornets basically play us with the guy basically we made the deal to get Kemba Walker for? So I gotta admit, I don't know what to think about the potential of facing the Charlotte Hornets in the playoffs, because we have not yet been able to face them with Gordon Hayward actually being on the court yet. You faced them three times this season, and each and every time at least 3 to 4 guys are missing for you, and only once on your side have you been missing a critical player in this situation, because again, you were only missing Kemba Walker in the third game. You weren't missing anybody critical in that first matchup other than Tristan Thompson. And again, Tristan Thompson is not no creme de la creme type player. And in the second game, you were missing Time Lord. So Tatum and Brown have been able to play in every matchup this year against Charlotte. So I have a feeling that if you go at it with Charlotte, Gordon Hayward could be the difference maker for the Hornets if you end up letting him play in that series, if he's able to stay healthy enough to play. So to end this video chat, you guys, what do you think about that? Do you think that if we were to go against Charlotte, this could be something that could, as they say, come back to bite us in the ass if Gordon Hayward was to come back and he somehow was to basically be the difference maker and help Charlotte knock us out?
Kevin.
Yeah, this is probably the most scariest playoff team that I don't want to watch. I think these guys, you got Gordon Hayward, you got Scary Terry, you got other players around them as well that plays really good. Them guys are playing really great basketball right now, and they're playing with confidence. And I think they feel like any game they play right now they can win. And from the looks of it, they're playing together. They love playing with each other. So that would be a scary situation to get Gordon Hayward, who has motivation to prove to the Celtics organization that he can play at a high level again. Scary Terry would be the same same situation with him. You guys didn't think I was good enough to lead this team, and now I'm gonna prove to you that I'm better than what you thought I was. So there's a lot of motivation there for the Charlotte Hornets to play better basketball. It's like Miami last year when you had Kelly Olynyk and you had Jay Crowder, who was released. Was traded or released or signed with somebody else that started out that played with the Celtics, and it showed. We never got a chance to play Miami in the playoffs. They showed the maturity, and they used that as motivation to prove to themselves you picked the wrong dudes over me. So now I'm gonna prove to you that I'm better than what you thought I was. So the Charlotte series could be the same. I see that maybe going 7-2. Um, and I think if it depending on home court advantage, whoever has home court advantage in that game seven probably wins that series.
Um, okay. I mean, about the Charlotte, Kevin said it. I will expand the story. If you want to watch the team, guys, and if you want to enjoy the basketball beside the Celtics, I advise you to watch Charlotte Hornets. They are playing beautiful basketball. They are playing high-paced basketball. They are playing offensive basketball, and they are fun to watch. They have tons of young guys. They have tons of talent, and Kevin mentioned when they are full squad with Gordon Hayward and Malik Monk. I think that when they are full squad, especially if Boston is not healthy, they could upset us in the playoffs. It would not be easy because I think that their style of play.
Yeah. We gotta go. Your thing is on the fritz.
Okay, can you hear
You're
me
back.
now?
Yeah, you're back.
They push the tempo up. They have the style of playing that is not good for the Celtics. And we mentioned the players that played against us. For example, PJ Washington. PJ Washington, he had in that loss 125, 104. Uh, uh, I mean, can you hear me, Danny?
Yep.
He had 22 points and 12 rebounds, 5 assists, which is telling you that he had 39 minutes. Miles Bridges, the young forward, athletic forward, 20 and 6. Terry Rozier, 21, 5, and 11 in that game. We defeated them in the other game, but of course they don't have quality simple to defeat us twice in the without Gordon Hayward, Monk, and LaMelo Ball. Cody Martin, 13 and 10 double double. Devonte Graham, this young point guard.
Igor, your thing is
Okay,
frozen. Oh, now you're
uh,
back.
okay. Bismarck Biombo from the bench. He's a little slow, but he's massive, and our second units are struggling. Tristan Thompson, he's taller and more massive than Thompson, and Thompson is struggling with him. McDaniels forward. He's kind of replacement for Gordon Hayward, pushing up the tempo. Solid young team. And one note that LaMelo Ball is back. LaMelo Ball is in the competition for the Rookie of the Year. I don't think that he will win the Rookie of the Year, but I'm really impressed with the young guy. I didn't know that he is such a talent, and I think that if he's not better player right now than Lonzo Ball, he will be better player in the future than his brother. And LaMelo Ball is back, and he's another trouble. Again, when they're full squad, LaMelo Ball, Malik Monk, Gordon Hayward, Terry Rozier, Miles Bridges, plus the other PJ Washington, Devonte Graham, Bismarck. They're really a really interesting team to watch. Without Gordon Hayward, Monk, I don't think that they have chance against us, but they will give us troubles because they're young, they're athletic, and because of the style of playing. High pace team, high tempo team. They are playing on high possessions games. Many points. So the ones that are playing, that are betting on basketball, bet on plus points on Charlotte Hornets. And again, watch Charlotte Hornets. I mean, I still love to watch Terry Rozier and Gordon Hayward. They are our Celtics, so they are good young team. And again, I would not like to play with them. And especially in the play-in tournament, it would be nightmare matchup with them. Talent is on the Celtics side, but talent doesn't always win itself. You must play on the court. You must sweat your jersey on the court to win. Celtics in 6, let's say, against the Hornets.
Okay, well, my final thoughts, pretty much before we hang it up here, I would just say this, you guys. That's the one match I would say to all those, as Igor would call them in this situation, all those, fans who are always positive, the power of positivity fans. That's the one match you better pray we don't get. Because if we do get it, everybody, that is the one match that if you do not manage to win in that first round, will officially give all the power of negativity fans the right to officially question everything Danny Ainge has done. Obviously, I made a small mistake earlier when I said, Kemba for Hayward. Obviously, that wasn't the deal in the situation. But basically, you've made 2 major trades with the Charlotte Hornets over the last few years. Kemba for Rozier, and then obviously the deal, with sending Hayward over to, Charlotte for the traded player exception, which you then in turn traded for Evan Fournier. Because you couldn't hold, Danny Ainge couldn't hold off to wait until the summer to basically try and see if he can get something better during free agency. So, if you end up going into that matchup, you guys, and you get beat by 2 players you traded away, a team that they're now leading, what the heck is that going to say about you? And more importantly, the players you chose to replace them with. I do not know how Danny Ainge will be able to live it up after that, or how anybody will be able to basically tell fans they no longer have a right to question Danny Ainge as a general manager if that was to actually happen. That a team basically being led by Terry Rozier and Gordon Hayward was to eliminate your team led by Tatum and Brown in the first round of the NBA playoffs. Literally, I don't know how you would be able to do it in this case. That's the honest truth in this situation. Especially now that everybody's trying to say we should trade Kemba Walker because he basically can't stay healthy. Well, how is that any different than what you have with Gordon Hayward? The man couldn't stay healthy and you all wanted him gone. But then yet, he's going to be the one to eliminate you in the first round of the playoffs? How bad would that look at that point? So that's the one matchup, you guys, I would say. The one matchup you all better pray we do not get. And if we do, you better pray to the heavens above that we end up winning that match. Because if we don't, you guys, the floodgates are going to be opening. Forget it. You guys think it's civil war right now in that group of ours in this situation? Forget it. We're gonna have to shut down the posting in the commenting section for the entire off season because people are gonna be fighting like crazy because of the fact that you will not be able to post in that group without people hating each other because so many people are gonna be calling the team out because you allowed players who used to be on this team that you allowed to leave to be the ones to beat you. You know how many fans, Patriot fans, can't stand the fact in this situation that Tom Brady's champion? Imagine if the Patriots were to allow him to beat them en route to actually winning a championship. That's the way these fans would feel if Gordon Hayward and Rozier were to eliminate us.
Danny, about Gordon Hayward, we have been dealing for years. Kevin remembers also with the fans and their stupid writing, uh, average Al nonsense. Remember on Twitter, the whole page is average Al. Despite Al Horford was the best player in 2019 playoff run. Also remember nonsense in which they were practically accusing Gordon Hayward for playing bad after he returned from injury, just like it's his fault that he's injured. And finally, when he was healthy the first year in Charlotte, he showed potential. He was probably the first or second option, and he showed potential to be the leader of the team. Now, why we lost Hayward? For a couple of reasons. First, we didn't want to pay him. And again, I'm returning to my point number one. There is elephant in the room that is called salary cap. We don't want to pay tax for the players. Why did we trade away Terry Rozier, Daniel? Because guess what? We didn't want to pay him. And obviously, we didn't think that Terry Rozier is maximum contract guy. We thought that Kemba Walker is better player and better fit for Tatum and Brown, and we missed because we saw that Kemba Walker is injured, just like Gordon Hayward himself. But Terry Rozier is shining as a leader of Charlotte Hornets. So we didn't want to pay Rozier, we didn't want to pay Horford, we didn't want to pay Hayward. That is one of the main reasons why they left Boston. And another reasons are Horford wanted to play for championship team, contending team. He thought Philadelphia is contending team last year, and Hayward, he wanted bigger role on the court. And this is not good thing in the resume of Coach Stevens, because Gordon Hayward is basketball child of Brad Stevens. Brad Stevens raised Gordon Hayward in Butler, so practically Gordon Hayward is his child. So when Gordon Hayward willingly left Boston and his basketball father, Brad Stevens, it is telling you something about Brad Stevens and his way of working in Boston, right? About Gordon Hayward, I'm wishing him well. He's not healthy. And again, many fans were accusing Gordon Hayward for playing bad, not realizing that he was injured, and it is not his fault that he is injured. Again, Kemba Walker is injured. I'm not blaming Kemba Walker for playing bad when he's not healthy. Simple as that. I'm blaming more management of the Celtics that gave him maximum contract, because you should research before signing the player about injury history and possibly risks of the injuries, and that's it. I don't think that Charlotte will eliminate us. I think that they will lose in the first round from Brooklyn or Philly, luckily. But again, they are fun team to watch, and I'm glad that Rozier is doing well. And when he's healthy, Hayward was doing well. And again, LaMelo Ball is top 3 rookies of the year, and he has bright future. So as Charlotte team. That's it, Kevin.
I pretty much agree with what you were saying about Charlotte, about the salary cap. And I just think sometimes when it comes to salary cap situations, you need to go all in, regardless of where you feel your team's going to end up at the end of the season. I mean, just think about this. You know, if if they go all in with Al Hartford, if they go all in with Gordon Hayward, Okay. You still have Jalen and Jason. Okay. But you got two veteran players that can play at a high level. But will Al Horford probably take days off? Yeah, because we know his knees are bad, you know. But I think that you can't you can't as an owner of a team say, okay, this team right here, we know gonna win a title, so we're gonna go over the salary cap because we're gonna go over the luxury tax because this is a good team. Sometimes you have to go over luxury tax even if the team's not good because of well, I'm gonna say it like this because of the COVID, I felt like they should have went over the luxury tax with Gordon. Even though he's been injured, um, he's still the player that does anything and everything well, but doesn't do anything great. Um, and um, it would have helped our rotation because we'd have figured it out by now. Okay, maybe we don't. Maybe when he's hurt, we can go with this rotation. We can go with that rotation. You know what I'm saying? Now you go a different direction, and now you have to use your TPE for Fournier. You know, which I think was a decent pickup. But again, um, I felt like if you couldn't have got the person you really wanted this year, then you should have waited to the summer. Um, and got who you wanted, but you can't be cheap about the money because at the end of the day, you're not gonna play well. I mean, you're not gonna be in the finals to play if you don't want to spend the money. You know, see, if you want to win, you guys spend that money. So that's my thoughts there.
Okay, so again, guys, so then we'll wrap it up there. Again, tomorrow the Celtics will play the Portland Trailblazers. That first game of the last 8. Again, 2 weeks left before the NBA playoffs, and we'll wait to see where they end up. Most likely, you're either playing in the 6th spot, playing Milwaukee, or ending up in a 4-5 matchup, likely with either the Atlanta Hawks or the New York Knicks. Or if you end up in that 7th, 8th, 9th, or 10th slot, you're likely destined for a the first round matchup with either the Brooklyn Nets or the Philadelphia 76ers if you end up beating whoever it is you got to beat in that pre-playoff tournament, obviously. So the Celtics have quite a bit of work to do, you two, in the next 2 weeks to avoid that play-in tournament in this case. And again, it's better to end up in the 6-5-4 area rather than falling in that 7th, 8th, 9th, or 10th area. And we pretty much did today, determined. Facing Milwaukee, the three of us feel the team could have a shot to knock them off. And if we have to choose, we are confident that the Celtics could knock off the New York Knicks or even the Atlanta Hawks. But the one team we probably wouldn't want them to face would be the Charlotte Hornets because of basically, again, the fact that you have not faced the Charlotte Hornets with all of their best players this year in any of the 3 potential matchups, and yet you have had to basically fight for your lives in all 3 matchups this season, meaning if you face them in a matchup with both teams healthy, in all likelihood, it could be the Hornets who are the ones who have the edge in that series. So again, ladies and gentlemen, we'll be back with you next Saturday night, 6 p.m. Eastern Time, on the Blog Talk Radio website for the radio shows when we will discuss the next week of NBA action for the Boston Celtics, and we'll be 1 week away from the NBA playoffs. So until then, I'm Daniel Camacho with, again, Igor and Kevin Dixon, and we'll talk to you again next Saturday night.
Good night.